Yo, what's up everyone? We are getting started here with the CardBoard Warriors Summer Championship. I'm super excited about this. Wheatr and I are going to be cast in. I think maybe both of us might be in and out as we go through it, so bear with us. And this is also my first time kind of getting our setup for the stream, so bear with us on that. But Wheatr, what's up, man? Back from your full grip game escapades. Good to have you on again.
Glad to be back. I had a fun time, but glad to be back home. And doing this gigantic, largest ever seen in the history of the world webcam GLC tournament. We got Bat Squid on top there with a Okie Dokie start. You can't ask for much more as fighting than an Okie Dokie start. Attach. Swing is pretty solid with Okie Dokie, especially if you find that special energy. And he's going to have the benefit of going into Colorless, so may not even need the special energy to take knockouts much of the time.
Yeah, I think Okie Dokie might just sweep this one here. This is going to be interesting. Rock Chestplate, a card you don't often see, but I think Jeffrey was running it in his list earlier on. That's a kind of interesting list, like big boy Okie Dokie taking all the prizes potentially.
Yeah, it's basically a pot helmet, so I guess he's probably also running pot helmet. Let me take a look at the list here. You already did, but let's see.
Yeah, I think Jeffrey, when he won, and as we see a twin energy on Kangaskhan here, but Jeffrey was running a lot of different tools on his list along with the stadiums to pair with Ting Lu. Just like, kind of hoping to dodge maybe multiple field blowers, effects into this game. Here we see an in, too, from Trollmeister down below. Looking to get set up. Porygon Z needs extra cards on the bench. And right now, with just Bidoof, things are looking a little dire for the face of this Okie Dokie. It looks like Bat Squid missed an attachment, though. That's kind of a big deal.
That hurts a lot. I mean, he's only got 8 energies, but also got Letter and Great Ball, so I guess it's really like 10. Well, and Vessel, so that's 11. That is painful to miss the energy there.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if Trollmeister's really enjoying the twin energy on Kangaskhan this early. Like, investing that resource on your active in the face of weakness is not super great. And, rally back is really what that Kangaskhan's going to be good at doing. With one more attachment, it's going to be hammering in for 100, though, which is not the worst, but nowhere near what it needs to do to take care of Okie Dokie if they get that dark energy on it.
Yeah, and he played in, so now Bat Squid's going to have another shot at the energy, the special energy.
There's Lugia. Lugia is really good into this matchup. I think Lugia has minus 20 or minus 30 resistance? Either way, it's going to be kind of absorbing a lot of that spread damage in the active if you can, while maybe potentially putting some knockouts out there. Still, looks like we didn't see Trollmeister's hand here. It's just down there at the bottom. Seeing a couple different webcam setups that are a little bit unique and different than what we're used to, but definitely both functional here, showing the entire board in their hand. It's good to see, too.
Sorry, I'm just getting distracted every once in a while with judge calls, but thankfully Subject is on the case.
Subject is a hero. Yeah,
truly.
I should probably be paying more attention to that, too. You're way better at me than multitasking.
No,
although I guess you guys are
good.
getting it through Colorless, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we got it. We've got a judge panel. So the in proved to be very valuable. Porygon on board. Lugia, like you were talking about, is the best attacker, but Okie Dokie can swing right through Lugia. So that's a huge boost for fighting.
Yeah. And quick ball Cynthia here to get that Porygon going. It looks like Artisan was a little bit helpful too for Trollmeister. So we're seeing kind of like, obviously you would love to play Artisan and then use Ting Lu to get rid of it. which is one of the best synergies you can have in a fighting deck. Is you get to play these stadiums that give both players effects and just get rid of it. Unfortunate there that he couldn't do anything on turn 1 because you aren't allowed to attack. Ultra Ball here from Bat Squid, getting rid of Calamitous Wasteland and Sentient Caitlyn. I wonder if he's just going to straight into Palisand here, just to get both of his spread mons going. There it is, Palisand coming up. Let's see, I think Energy Switch Effect would be the best, something like Birdkeeper, Tate, and Liza, maybe even just good old Switch. Guzma on Porygon would be back-breaking here, just like Weakness, KO, spreading damage to the board. Obviously, Bidoof gets to buy. Although, I guess in this situation, Wheatr, are you going to hit Bidoof or are you hitting Porygon?
I think I'm going Bidoof in this situation. Let's see. Played in last turn, put down, played Quick Ball, that's -2, plus Lugia. 3 cards in hand, I'm probably going for the draw, if, given the choice.
Yeah, we're seeing Karina's Focus here, so draw up to 6. Fighting players, a lot of fighting players recently, I've seen kind of these draw forward cards in their deck. We saw Jeffrey playing Lily in one of his other lists, and then we see, Karina's Focus here, getting him Hisuian Heavy Ball and going for Riolu here. How's the table you cast chosen? Well, I'm going to be honest, I picked this one because Bat Squid, who was just on Let Loose with us, is doing it. So, random to a certain degree. I'll let Wheatr choose the next round. Bat Squid did find an attachment, but not the dark energy that he was looking for. Move straight into the barrel here, too, by Trollmeister.
I see Karina's Focus in the list. I think that's just a worse Lily. You don't get the turn 1 benefit. It didn't matter this game. Yeah, maybe he didn't have the card. That's true.
So
Fighting's always got no cards in hand, so drawing up to 6 is probably a lot most of the time.
Yeah. So it looks like Trollmeister went to throw down a parallel, but I think they opted to maybe use Artisan first, which is why we saw them retract. Parallel, not the best into fighting. I'm wondering if Trollmeister might consider saving it for himself at some point to maybe parallel himself to get some damage off the board.
That's a good option. And it looks like putting Snorlax into play. I know this isn't like an only spread deck, but if you're willfully putting down a whole bunch of Pokemon before Palisand starts spreading, that could be potentially dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just going up with Lugia, as long as you can kill the Okidogi, seems like the best play here.
Yeah, and we're missing a little bit of the bench there, so let me see if I can expand the screen a little bit so we can see it. So he does drop Parallel. And it looks like Machop is the one to go. Not surprising, Machop takes the most setup. So I'm not hating that decision by Bat Squid.
I've been thinking about Parallel into fighting lately after playing against Hitmon Bros in the best of 3, and it honestly feels pretty good. Fighting has a lot of recovery options, but if you can get rid of Machop or Machoke somehow, that always feels really nice. Because they're not high priority in the early game, and if you can force Fighting to have to recover that line, it feels like a small win.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're playing Parallel anyways, then trying to time it right for that does seem to have a pretty good effect, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, while Parallel was kind of resolving, we see Chansey getting benched, and then we see a Marnie being played. So kind of refilling the fighting player's hand a bit. They were at 3, so you give them up a card, and then your bench is full of just Pokemon weak to fighting. We're still in kind of the setup phase for both of these players. It would be interesting to see kind of how it plays out. So get going here. Hisuian Heavy Ball blanking.
Yeah, and the Marnie's going to give Bat Squid even more opportunity to find that special energy. You saw in opening hand plus in plus Marnies, so that's a lot of the deck to go through, and that's going to be disastrous if he does get that online, especially with a rock chest plate.
Yeah, I'm looking at his list. He's playing the Chansey down, which is he takes as a prize, he gets to flip for an extra one potentially. I'm wondering if he's running some sort of Peonia combo to put it into his prizes, but it looks like he's not. I think he's just opting as kind of like maybe a way to get a cheeky extra prize at some point during his tournament run, but nothing really doing there. Looking at the list too, we still have Duduo and Dodrio that aren't kind of showing themselves yet. Would be reasonable in this matchup as long as you're not using it to draw and putting counters on it, because it does have resistance and it does do more damage based on the counter. So that would have been a nice one to have found at some point, I think.
Yeah, and that can really dissuade fighting from using Palisand in the first place, because you're powering up Dodrio for an extra 90 damage with every Sandpot trap.
We see double Colorless go on to Lugia and just a pass from there. So no extra attachment to Kangaskhan to maybe chip in for some more damage. And of course, Kangaskhan's rally back would do nothing with a rock chest plate attached to Kangaskhan here, or to Okidogi. Pokegear, one of the best consistency cards that fighting has to play just because of the way that fighting has to be constructed. So Pokegear here may be looking for a switch card. There's Guzmahala, which gets the energy. He'll probably need to power up this Okidogi and give it that extra HP. This Okidogi might go the distance. Yeah, I think...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think with, Guzmahala, I think you would have loved maybe to actually get into one of your spreaders instead. Like, I really wish that Bat'Squid had a start where we could see the power of Palisand and Ting Lu, because they would just be putting in work at this point, and then you would just have Okidogi as kind of this late-game finisher.
Yeah, starting a one energy attacker, especially going first with the stage one, fighting can make that play. Fighting has the tools to get that out very fast. Mm-hmm. But starting Okidogi, maybe in this game, slightly unfortunate.
Yeah. We see Muscle Band, Luminous, and Brooklet Hill here. I don't think Bat'Squid has any more Pokemon he can play. So Brooklet Hill just to bump Parallel, I don't know if I'm a fan of it. I think I would wait for a Ting Lu attack if I was in his situation.
Oh, wow. You're right. He's only playing 5 basics. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't face mulligan problems later on.
Yeah, we might see mulligan issues come up. But of course, you're also, with less Pokemon, you're more likely to start one that you want to in the active. That's something I've always liked with running less basics and Hitmon Bros. Increasing my chances of starting Hitmonchan has always been something that's great.
Good point.
Looks like he's wasting no time, fails a heavy ball, and just takes the KO on Kangaskhan here. So first prize in this tournament, at least to our knowledge, goes to Basketball.
I wonder what promoting the Chansey means.
I wonder what that means too.
Either Trollmeister has a busted hand with Porygon Z play coming. That must be it. If he's going into Blissey, I believe that's the Blissey that conserves energy. Mm-hmm. Passes it back on attack. So, okay, we're going to see a Guzma. I was incorrect.
All right, Guzma's reasonable here. Putting the Riolu in the active. It's unfortunate that it is just a 1 energy mon here.
And pass. I'm
confused what's happening.
Yeah, what?
Babarrel? Is there no cards in hand and then Babarrel draw?
Did you just draw 6?
Yeah.
That looked like 6 to me. I could be wrong.
All right, there's Warp Energy on Snorlax. And then just some damage to Riolu here. Is that enough for a knockout? Jeffrey giving us that he thinks it was 5. Oh, only 40 damage because 2 is attached to Lugia here. All right, Bat Squid's turn. If Jeffrey's in here, that means that game was real short for you, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
All right, Karina. Karina is interesting here. Obviously, I don't think any Pokemon are left in the deck. So what is Bat Squid going to grab? And will it be Escape Rope, maybe? Escape Rope into a Spreader? Lost Zone of Flabebe into a Scoop. Oof.
Poor fairy.
We see Lucario and Switch. Okay. Not bad at all. All right, we're going up into Tinglu. Bat Squid did save the Brooklet that he has in hand. So, very reasonable play here. Going to get rid of this Parallel and spread damage to everything but Lugia. Tinglu's just so scary. I was playing a game the other day against Tinglu, and I was playing Lightning, which is already ruthless, and I had Tynamo in my hand, and I was just like, I can never bench 30 HP Tynamo.
Yeah, I feel like Tinglu is really polarizing. I know you love that card, Jeffrey loves that card, a bunch of people love Tinglu, but I don't see it. Yeah. I'm happy to be wrong, but discarding the stadium seems like such a big penalty.
Well, I mean, here we're seeing it just be such a big boost because, you know, it's getting rid of a Parallel. And it's also just spreading damage to all these already weak Pokemon. We do see Doduo drop, which we talked about being kind of an important piece to this matchup. It's getting powered up because of that Squid spread. We see a good Dodrio here take some KOs. It's definitely one of the Pokemon that for only one attachment can do some work. Lugia, hopefully going to do some work here. Snorlax, always a threat. It's just looking kind of rough for the Colorless player.
I think Colorless has some chances here. Machop's not online. I can't see. I think everything is benched except for Machop. The Lucario is going to be a problem, but everything is evolved out of short-term spread range, so it would take several more turns of spread to actually eliminate some of the benched Pokemon. So, I mean, the better setup goes to Colorless. It's just, can they get the energy put out on the field? And if so, I think there might be some potential. I forgot Okidogi's waiting in the wings, though. I did forget about that.
Yeah, and with the way the setup has to be, we're missing a little bit of the bench up there. But, you know, Okidogi being on the bench is a problem. And I just checked Bat Squid's list again. TM Devolution is in the list. Could we see a huge Devo TM play?
That would be sick.
All right, we see Snorlax being promoted. I'm not sure how yet. Did I miss?
It was a Jet Energy.
Jet Energy. Oh, okay. We got Porygon Z active, so that makes a lot of sense. So Snorlax fully powered up with a Gift Energy too, which is pretty nice. Capture Energy on Blissey here looks to be the second attacker.
So much damage does Dodrio need to one-shot Okidogi? Okidogi's at 260.
Yeah,
so it needs 9?
Yeah, it basically needs to be at knockout point.
Interesting. Wonder if that's a line that these two can play around. Be interesting to see if they're playing along that knockout condition. I guess you're probably just going straight up with Okidogi here. Although I don't know, it's asleep. Maybe you spread with Palisand? What would you do as the resident fighting expert in this situation?
Well, I think I want to keep spreading, but it just depends on what's in my hand, the energy or not. Now, going up into Okidogi here, not a terrible decision. Again, I don't know what the constitution of Bat Squid's hand is, Okie Dokie's probably gonna get chipped at by Lugia, I imagine. Now here's a Raihan, so there. But yeah, we're back now. So Luxurious Cape coming out. Luxurious Cape on Porygon Z. That's interesting. I guess that is a mon you do want to protect. I'm just wondering if it would be better suited on like a Slacking. Although I guess that also dies. I don't know. Luxurious Cape coming out it seems a little rough into a weakness matchup. Wheatr, what are your thoughts? Are you going to play Luxurious Cape out into weakness?
No. I mean, maybe on Lugia.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a tough call. I get where Trollmeister's head's at, though, and obviously this is already a really tough matchup to begin with, so can't be faulted for that. I'm going to go ahead and fix the prizes here. We got 3, 2, 5 here. Here's Rescue Stretcher. Is this a Snorlax potentially coming back?
Yeah, it's wild how much Okie Dokie really changed fighting. I mean, it gives it a one-shot potential on Lugia, which has been the problematic card, from what I understand. It's low maintenance, huge damage, huge HP. So really, the only answer that Trollmeister has for it is Slacking, which isn't available.
Mm-hmm. Now here's Titaniza. Shuffle draw 5. Looks like Trollmeister not finding what he needs to find here, what they need to find. Titaniza is such an important card in these colorless decks, just, giving you the flexibility of the switch with the added luxury of Shuffle Draw 5. Just so cool. More people should play Titaniza. More people should play Birdkeeper. Birdkeeper. Best card in GLC. Call it now.
Birdkeeper has niche, really, really good usage.
Well, here's Rare Candy into Slacking, which, if you retreat into Slacking here, I think you're taking the KO, are you not?
I can't tell how much damage that is, but it's 3 dice, so it looks like it.
Yeah. So this is a great play by Trollmaster here, because I think Slacking's set up to turn off the ability, take care of Okie Dokie, and then maybe another KO. I'm failing to see what the other energies are attached, if that's powered up or not.
It's a double turbo plus, I think it's not a capture. It might be a capture.
Yeah.
But it's 3 energy.
Okay. Yeah. So that's ready for the KO too. So, big swing here. We're probably just going to see Lucario come in and take it out, but Colorless keeping the prize race closer than I thought that they might.
I'm surprised we're not seeing the recycle on Slacking to pay for. I mean, maybe the plan is you have to swap anyway, so maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's irrelevant. Maybe you're going into Snorlax next turn no matter what, or Lugia even.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, going up into Palisand is interesting here.
If somehow Trollmeister misses a switch out, 2 turns of spread would take 1 knockout.
Yeah, so this will be, here's Acrobike. Just drawing more cards. Yeah, I wonder, playing the Field Blower, got rid of the Luxurious Cape. TM Devo just seems kind of offline at this point in time. So I just don't know if that's what Pat Squid's thinking in the back of his head. It just doesn't seem very useful since everything has, I think, 90 HP. Obviously, getting rid of the barrel might be important, so maybe that's what he's thinking.
Well, and the Slacking was a rare candied, so TM Devo would be
actually be a good one. Yeah.
A double knockout.
So, Luxurious Cape on Palisand. That's kind of neat. Let's let it survive either a Slacking or a Snorlax hit while kind of wrecking havoc on the board. And here's a VS Seeker from Marnie, resetting some hands.
Team Devo is a much better card in closed deck list, I think, than open deck list. It's much easier to play around with if you know it's available.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like fighting decks are starting to include it quite a bit, but it's still not super common.
Yeah.
So as a surprise play, it's very powerful, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And there's just some matchups that like basically become so winnable because of it. Like I'm thinking specifically Grass. Grass is just a matchup where they do have a lot of big, heavy guys. So getting to those lower evolutions they like to keep in level ball range is pretty important. So I'm liking Devo TM more and more. It's just not super useful in a lot of different games. All right, Jeffrey doing a lot of, or not Jeffrey, Basco doing a lot of game actions here. We saw Super Rod into Ting Lu, get it back with Brooklet Hill. We're seeing Trainer's Mail here and showing Elusami. So maybe expecting to grab another stadium at some point to maybe put the Hurt on the bench. With that Ting Lu. Yeah, Jeffrey mentioning Metacham Barrage. Very difficult to do. Very difficult, but very fun. When you can attack twice with a TM, it's sweet. I just like that TM to be blindside typically because you can play a little bit more aggressively with blindside, or what's the word? Proactively is probably a better word with that because you can make the decisions with blindside, whereas Devo TM leaves a lot to your opponent. It's an argument we've had in the Cardboard Warriors Discord. I usually get rammed for that train of thought.
Well, it seems in Bat Squid's list, that actually seems really interesting because it's only got 5 Pokemon lines, so adding one more isn't that bad. You have Donk potential with the Metatite, and it pairs well. TM Devo and Blindside both pair well with the rest of the list, so that sounds like a pretty cool option to me.
Yeah. This is a super interesting game right now because, we're both at 3 prizes, so it felt like fighting was just too far ahead, and then that slacking play where you're able to go, 2 for 1, maybe even more with this slacking, just dragging Trollmeister back from the death. And we're seeing Special Charge to kind of refill that deck with some of those more important special energies. We're going to see, it looks like, I think that's Twin Energy and Jet Energy getting pushed back into the deck. I think Trollmeister has access to Recycle Energy if they didn't attach it at a previous turn, although it might have gotten Marnied away in the process. So this slacking might be making waves, and then just having the draw engines online is pretty sweet. Bench not looking too precarious. If Palisand gets another spread here, it's just Duduo that's going down. But another thing of spread and Devo Lucian TM wins the game, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that would be actually a 4-hit knockout, or a 4 knockout play.
Okay. Here's Evolution TM coming down. Or not coming down, but at least getting grabbed off of the Arvin. Is it fodder for another card, or is it a play while you got slacking in the active just to get Dodrio to maybe survive another hit? And there's VS Seeker, so maybe some plans for next turn.
Is this after Bibarel? After Industrious Incisors?
I'm not sure. I might have missed
because filling the hand before drawing, I don't know. I mean, you can get rid of TM Evo, but
okay, yeah, just putting Evo TM on the barrel, so it does look like it is before. If they don't have an energy here, I kind of like putting it on slacking as a way to maybe get Dodrio. Obviously, Dodrio could be prized, which is why they're not making that play. But being able to do something would be interesting. even if you don't have the extra energy to attach to the slack. There is the
I feel
extra
like you
energy.
got a yeah, it feels like you got a hard retreat, but you're not taking a knockout no matter what you do.
Yeah. Hard retreat into Lugia here. Which isn't the worst in the world here. It's just bringing that Devo TM a little bit closer into play. So not taking a KO here leaves you basically, I won't say basically, you're pretty close to losing, but it is the best play, I think, in this situation.
We're coming up on time in this game. There are 3 minutes left, and we have a hard cap of 45 minutes in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
We're expecting 7 rounds, so we're trying to keep it moving. So unless Bad Squid gets a playoff very quickly, then we might end up with a draw. But it looks like to me like it's Bat Squid's game to lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just needs to see the lines. He's got 4 card plus the 5th card that he drew from hand. An extra energy here, maybe potentially to thin the deck, set up a Ting Lu spread. He's going to take a KO here with Palisand. Lucario can take a KO, I think, on everything on board after a promotion. It's just whether or not this Palisand gets knocked down. Here's Birdkeeper. So maybe still looking for that Devo TM play. Alright, looks like he's just spreading 30 to everything. Alright, so there's a prize. This forces Trollmaster to deal with this Ting Lu before they move on to dealing with the Palisand, potentially. We're finding a way to gust it up to take 2 prizes.
I do have a special request for the next round.
Oh, yeah?
I found out that SBO is playing my Wailord control deck.
Ooh.
So I'd be really curious to see how that goes.
All right. I'm down with that. We'll check out SBO and Leviathan control for round 2. So you heard it here first, chat. We're going to be checking out Wheatr's deck. Which I don't even, thinking about how to beat that deck in the current meta is just ridiculous. Like, I think we're going to have to do a lot of changing to our decks if we don't want to lose to that deck and it becomes more common. You're a monster.
It was pretty funny. Mahone teching all 3 decks for it. I got a good chuckle out of that.
Yeah, I was watching a little bit of the matchup, and I was like, oh man, he's playing Lost Vacuum in his water deck. When that came out, I was like, this man went home and he thought about your deck all night. He played Faba in one of his decks. He played Faba in Gallade, which I thought was smart, to be honest, because you have supporter search with Gallade, so why not get one like that? Lugia here after a Nest Ball, which I think was failed, taking care of Ting Lu. That was, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 energies, but I think it just chose to do the second attack. Here comes Lucario. The Lucario promotion is interesting. I guess maybe it's not if he has... There it is. There it is. That should be game if Devo TM is in the deck, and it is. So Devo TM here going to take care of Bidoof and Slacking's Re-Evolution.
And Slacking.
Yeah. So, wow, way to end the game. That's good, playing that really, really smart all the way to the end, setting up his spread damage. And then we see Dodrio in the prizes. Dodrio would have been such a powerhouse, I think, if it had been able to come out. But yeah, taking the dub. Asquith round 1. Really proud of my boy there. And we get a look at Jeffrey's awesome playmat, which, let's be honest, it's the star of the show. It's hard to say no to that playmat. It's just so
we might have to call a judge for all those illegal notes on the playmat. No writing allowed. No fun allowed.
Looks like I missed some comments, so we'll get back to them. Will we be posting the VOD of this on YouTube? Who knows? I don't know. We'll get around to it, maybe. Posting the VOD would be really cool. Maybe doing some edited content of maybe the finals matches would also be kind of cute and cool to do, but we'll see. How's Leviathan in the time format? You commented on that one. Oh, Sir Marcus is saying he's running Colorless. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, the Colorless welder deck that he's been talking about on Discord. I'd be interested in seeing that one if he's making it further at undefeated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Costello and Jeffrey here. Cyclozar, free retreat start for Jeffrey here. Not the one that you typically see. He's running the Touring, which is 1 energy, draw 2, and then for 3 energy it does 100 damage, but the free retreat is nice. And then we see Costello just starting with Okie Dokie. Fighting players and starting Okie Dokie. Is there anything better? I mean, so good. It's basically like as good as starting Guz Mahala.
Yeah, and the problem for Colorless is that slacking is their answer for Okie Dokie, but when you start Okie Dokie, slacking's not a realistic answer because it's going to take too long to get online. So that's pretty rough for Colorless.
Yeah. Hey, no worries. We love to stream, and we just happen to have the time to do it today. Really, the shout out to Wheatr after his week of traveling to Akron, Ohio, coming back here after winning all those games. You know, he's the real hero for joining us, then running this tournament. And then again, got to give a shout out to Subject. Subject's handling most of the judge stuff so that we can be here to talk. So, shout out to him too.
Huge shout out to Subject, our resident professor extraordinaire.
Right. Yeah, I'm only a CBW mod because of my face, is what I'm learning. And then besides that, Wheatr and Subject do all the work. I'm just going to do some of the talking sometimes.
You're our GLC evangelist.
There we go. Mascot, maybe?
Mascot, evangelist.
I'll take the role of mascot. If you've been watching The Boys, whatever the old CEO that gets replaced by Sister Sage, that's what I am.
I wish I watched that show, but that just went right over my head.
Gotcha. I've only been watching a little bit. But here we go. We got quick ball away at teammates. Go ahead and get Riolu set up here. I think it looks like, based off of what Costella is doing, he's already planning to pivot away from the combo. Riolu for the revenge attack, Okie Dokie. He's kind of going cheap, efficient attacker, big boy time. And here's Professor's letter. Probably going to see attachment straight to Okie Dokie.
Okay, I've played a little bit of Hitmon Bros recently, and I had that question. Say you start Okie Dokie, and it's a favorable matchup where you think Okie Dokie can do well, maybe take a couple knockouts. Are you setting up the combo at all? Is it maybe just like a Hitmonlee snipe later? Do you need 2 full combos, really? Or is it a possible late game option as well, even if you're starting a big hitter?
Yeah, so I actually had I played in a tournament a couple weeks ago where I was playing Hitmon Bros, and it was my first kind of look at what Okie Dokie Bros would be. I ended up going 3-1 and beating Psychic in the finals for the tournament win. But there were games where I had like these questions come up, and it just was a matter of like feel what my opponent was doing. I started Okie Dokie a couple of games and ended up taking like 1 or 2 knockouts, and then actually pivoting back to the back into the combo during a couple matchups because taking multiple prizes seemed to be my way of victory, or having Okie Dokie on my bench as my opponent struggled to set up was the key. Then I also had like a really weird game against Wales where they basically only had Wailord and like 1 other bench Pokemon, and in that case you're just all in on Okie Dokie and Lucario. So, that's where I think Hitmon Bros got infinitely better. Is it so much better at pivoting in and out of the combo than it used to be? course, we got people in the Tricky Gym Discord, not going to call out anyone in particular, but there's one guy that keeps telling me, if you're just going to abandon the combo, why play it? Because 90 snipe on turn 2 kills everything in the game. It's the best disruption there is.
Yeah, it's pretty broken. There's no way around that.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. Slack off. So it looks like Jeffrey is planning on maybe finding ways to take care of this okie dokie, and slacking is one of them. Capture energy on Cyclizar, getting his bench set up. The fact that a hit and run hasn't come in yet, with no Hitmonchan in the area, means your bench is pretty safe, but it also means the Cyclizar probably isn't long for this world. So capture energy, probably going to do some touring here. Drawing some cards. Level ball again, I imagine, of the Doof, or, yeah, there's Minccino, so some sort of draw engine coming down. Jeffrey's a big fan of Minccino and Cinccino, the trade draw 2. What are your thoughts? You thinking Bibarel, or you're thinking Cinccino in this option, or this situation?
It may depend on the prizes and I guess what's in hand, but I think in Porygon Z decks you really want to build a big hand because you need to dump a bunch of energies at one time. So it might make sense to start Cinccino, and he didn't go for Bidoof at all. So I'm thinking there's a surprising issue because with Level Ball and Winona, Bidoof was in hand. Bibarel must also be in hand since he didn't grab it.
Well,
but great setup by Jeffrey.
Yeah, and it looks like Bidoof is the sacrifice, actually. So maybe Bibarel is prized here.
Yeah, but I think they work perfectly together in Porygon Z because you're immune to hand disruption and you also can build a really big hand size. So even after you build a big hand, dump all your energy, you can then refill your hand again. Mm-hmm. So it's a great combo of draw supporters.
Yeah. So no Lugia. I haven't checked out Jeffrey's deck list, if I'm going to be honest with you, but we can go ahead and take a little gander at it right now while I'm talking to you all. Lugia is in the list, and so we also see Taillow here as another Pokemon with resistance to fighting. Everything else has weakness, so I think maybe expecting some sort of comeback mechanic here. Ooh, Guzma and Hala here from Castella is not what you want to see, I think, if you're on Jeffrey's side of the table.
Jeffrey is not playing any triple energies, so even like a rare candy, slacking, reversal wouldn't work. And I'm curious, I'd be interested to ask him, now that Okidogi is such a popular card and fighting is so popular, is Weakness Guard worth putting into the list?
I mean, obviously there's also limited bench space, but, Dunsparce is always an option, and if you're running the Dunsparce, right, you get the draw and shuffle back in, so there's always a way to clear your bench at least. Just things to think about if fighting does become a player in the meta, which I'm so excited that we're talking about. So we got Training Court Floatstone Unit Energy. So some pretty interesting grabs here. I imagine Floatstone is either going on Machop or staying in hand. There it is on Machop. And then there's the energy. Pretty free to play Training Court here, just to get back an energy, because you know that Jeffrey isn't playing any colored energy, but obviously opting to save it in hand as he takes the first KO of this game.
I just noticed, you may have mentioned it, but I just noticed Jeffrey is playing Lost City. That could play a huge role in this matchup. Mm-hmm. Lost City Okidogi, and I think you're probably feeling a lot better if you manage to accomplish that.
Yeah. It looks like Jeffrey is in the, he's attached double colorless energy here to Cyclizar. So he's on the chip in some damage plan as he kind of builds up his board. Not much from him that turn. Besides attach, pass, evolve a little bit. I wonder if he's sitting over there with kind of a rough hand. It does look like he did discard Special Charge at some point to maybe draw off of that Cinccino. seeing the power of Team Magma. Great ball from Costella here, grabbing energy.
All right, we're back. Sorry about that.
All good. But
It's nice about round 2, maybe round 3, all the judge calls settle down and everyone gets in the groove for the tournament. Then we get to see some awesome games.
Oh, what card is that? Is that Erica's Hospitality?
Yeah, I saw him mentioning that in the Discord the other day that he swapped Cynthia's Ambition for that, which I
Okay.
think was a pretty good call. It's more versatile card.
The full art's a little bit more expensive, though. Yeah, so Erica's Hospitality is draw. If you have 4 or fewer cards in your hand, draw a card for each of your opponent's Pokemon in play. So playing dividends here for the fighting player. I mentioned it earlier on. We saw it with Karina's Focus in Batsquid's list in round 1. We've seen it with Lily in Jeffrey's fighting list that he took a tournament down with. A lot more draw forward, like adding cards to hand instead of shuffle draw or discard draw effects in fighting these days, as they've become a little bit more, I don't want to say combo oriented, but as they've become more like focused on having more cards in hand to kind of add to what they already do.
Yeah, it's weird to hear people say fighting has cards in hand, but it does feel that way now. Fighting has found a way to have lots in hand. I think all the low energy attackers, it doesn't take a lot to do something devastating to the opponent. So you're really not using a lot of resources at one time, usually.
Well, here we see Jeffrey going Guzma and Hala, and just discarding Vigoroth and Artisan. So I'm wondering if there's a Rare Candy slacking play going on. There's Parallel, Floatstone, and Gift Energy.
Yeah, he whipped those out really quick. I wonder what he's got in mind.
Oh, and Costella just flopping down 8 cards in his hand. Like something you never see from fighting. Wow. Really impressive showing from fighting so far between these last 2 rounds. Obviously, they've been playing against Colorless, but are Colorless days numbered because of Okidogi? I mean, that's a question that I didn't think I'd be asking before this tournament started, but after these first 2 games, I'm kind of like, no wonder we've been hating on Marsh over the last couple days.
I think, personally, I think Colorless has the tools to tech for it. You mentioned Dunsparce. You've got Weakness Guard Energy. You could play Dodrio may become more popular. There are a lot of tools to deal with it, I think. Colorless has such a big card pool. You can come up with all sorts of solutions for it.
Yeah, for sure. And interesting play here. Leaving Slack off in the active, using its attack. It does have Gift Energy attached. So, obviously going to draw up to 7 here if that Slack off does get KO'd. Does our friend Costella here have a way to switch it out? And it looks like he might be pivoting back into the combo, which I think is actually really smart. We're getting our answer here from you. When is it good to switch back into the combo? Well, here's a good point, because Slack off 60 HP with weakness would be KO'd by a Hitmonchan attack, and then 90 to the bench is always scary.
Well, yeah, by leaving, I think Jeffrey actually opened up this route by leaving Slack off there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then putting the Luxurious Cape on Porygon Z is such an obvious Guzma target. I don't know. What are you protected from by putting that on the bench?
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to think of, maybe you're safe from the combo, but if you're going to hit Hitmonlee to Porygon Z and then the Hitmontop, you're safe from that, but Field Blower will net a knockout. I'm not sure about the Lux Cape on Porygon Z. I don't really understand the thought process there.
Yeah. Here we see Karina grabbing Escape Rope, which I think is really smart by Costella here, because you're getting basically what's become Jeffrey's draw engine in Gift Energy. out of the active. You're taking another KO with Okidogi. You've got Hitmonchan with strong energy just sitting there. I mean, this feels pretty comprehensive on the whole for fighting and what they're trying to do.
Yeah, Jeffrey hasn't taken a knockout yet, so this is a big feels bad. Let's see. I wonder if Slacking's in there.
Badu.
Oh.
Yeah. There's Lugia too. Jeffrey with the scoop, which again can't fault him for that. That game fell out of his hands. No attackers really left in the deck. Fighting strong.
Yeah, fighting 2-0. I wonder what the other tables are looking at right now. Wonder how Bat Squid did in game 2.
Looks like it's 5-6 on prizes in Bat Squid's favor. No Manaphy, but we do see Veluza. That's interesting. I love me some Veluza here.
Can Veluza, I'm not sure on the text on Veluza, can it pass back reversal?
It can pass back water energy, I think. But let me be sure before we...
Oh, it's cards. So yeah, it could pass reversal and a water if it's behind, which is pretty crazy. That's really cool.
Really cool, yeah. It has obviously it's very good in a Whales deck. I was actually considering the same idea. So what is this? Gym Leader Josh here. Love the idea. Thank you for putting it out there so that I know that it's a good idea to try. But having an extra way to conserve energy in a list where you have Vitality Springs Blastoise, super sweet. So big ups to him for this list.
Oh, is Blastoise in this deck?
This particular list is not running it, to be honest. I usually play Vitality Springs Blastoise in my Wailord list. This is playing Excalibur and Frostmoth and Snom. So, good on him there for looking at that. But yeah, Veluza is energy cards, right? 2 energy cards.
Yeah, 2 energy cards. So you could pass back conceivably 5 total energy with it. With counter and reversal, which would be kind of crazy.
So this is kind of an interesting situation, too. I'm not sure what stadium Bat Squid has. It's Artisan there. So Artisan is in play. So he's got a potential Ting Lu attack if he gets us out of the active. But I think he's maybe opting to go in with this Lucario for a revenge attack. Which
I just want to stop you guys for just a second.
What's up?
Because I just
by this. Knocked out, it gets passed back, so you can be behind a prize.
Energy as water energy.
Pass. So if you're even on prizes when it gets knocked out, I think you're passing back 4 water energy.
I was just checking because I didn't see it quite clearly enough.
Even though it wasn't active before the knockout.
Cool. All right. Glad we got that settled. All right. So Lucario here, revenging after Karina's focus, taking a prize. All right, some more cool stuff going on here. Titan moving up. Wash energy.
We didn't see the reversal passed, right?
We did not see the reversal get passed back. No, it was just 2 water energy from the Veluza.
I guess in this case it doesn't matter since the Titan has the splash, but I wonder if there's a line. Okidogi's not taking a knockout, but a muscle band. Muscle band solves that.
Oh, you know what? Veluza is a basic, so reversal.
Oh, duh. Okay. All that thought process I just had is null and void.
Mm. It can attach. It's only one colorless though, but it can't be passed back as a water energy. So thanks, Crunky. Appreciate you. Jeffrey here talking about his loss. A miracle beating Costella. Yeah, we streamed that game, Jeffrey. It was impossible, and then we saw your prizing, and it felt even worse. So kudos to you for the matchup. Well played on your side. Well played on Costella's side. All right, so Titan getting the pot helmet. Man, looking at this matchup here, I'm just thinking it's basically impossible for a Tinglu Palisand spread deck to win, right? I'm not crazy. As long as Gym Leader Josh kind of manages his bench, uses rough seas at an appropriate time, attaches his tools wisely, and just doesn't feel like this is Whale's game to lose, right?
I think if you now fighting doesn't usually have the card advantage to do such a thing, but I think if you time your attacks well and then you TM Devo, maybe you have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But Rough Seas probably is too good for that scenario.
Mm-hmm. Just a matter of whether Josh here has access to it. We're seeing Professor's Letter grabbing 2, just basic energy. And obviously the pot helmet here gonna reduce that damage. Here's Rock Chestplate. That doesn't fix any math, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Nope. Doesn't fix anything.
So,
It puts Tinglu at 170.
yeah, so we're seeing Artisan get discarded off the Tinglu attack. So Titan took damage there too when it shouldn't, right?
That's correct. It should be at 30.
Looks like maybe they're realizing that.
Ref Seas with Wailord does make, especially if you get a pot helmet on Wailord, it does feel a little unfair to spread decks that are just spread decks in general. So you're taking effectively minus 90 from every attack if you have Rough Seas.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
I'm going to chime in since we're in their match real quick and just remind them about Titan taking the less damage.
Oh, sure.
Hey, gentlemen, we're watching your game. Titan should have 30 less damage, I think, because of pot helmet. Cool. All right.
Save the day.
I was going to say, I have them muted too, so I didn't hear what their responses were. Cynthia here. I mean, that's one of the things about playing on webcam. It can be tough sometimes to keep track of all these different things, especially when there are cards that you can't read 100%. It takes a lot of knowledge of the metagame, especially at like a high-level tournament like this, to know what every single card is doing, right? So you rely a lot on your opponent telling you what their cards do. You rely a lot on your knowledge, and sometimes it's just difficult to keep track of board state. So I'm very sympathetic to people making tiny mistakes on webcam. No one's playing poorly on purpose in those situations, or no one's trying to cheat, I think, on purpose. It's just kind of part of what the game is.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there are 2 or 3 cards in Bat Squid's list that I would have to Google right away.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what Calamitous Wasteland did until I clicked through to it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's an interesting option in a spread deck.
That's the it's kind of like the Frozen City, right? Like it does.
It's
more.
The basic non-fighting Pokemon have an extra retreat cost.
Oh, okay. All right,
so cheeky idea.
Yeah, here we see Titan taking the KO again. Rock Chestplate not fixing any math. Titan just taking down KOs. So Water pulls ahead on the prize race. You've got Wailord being slowly powered up on the bench. It's tough to see a route to victory here. We're seeing Guzmahala discard the card you just mentioned, Calamitous Waste and Brooklet Hill, grabbing Martial Arts Dojo. All right, that's pretty sick. Martial Arts Dojo, I gotta imagine there's Luminous, and does he need the buff? So you're hitting 210 right now. So I think you're taking the KO without any HP buffs. So I think that if you're thinking about Muscle Band, you're attaching that somewhere else this turn instead.
The Muscle Band actually gives the knockout, and maybe you save the dojo for Wailord. I don't think you put both of them down, so you got to save. I mean, there's really not a backup attacker available, but you're doing enough. Okay, so he puts both down.
Yeah, here's Bassquid putting Martial Arts Dojo and the Muscle Band. I think I would have liked your line of play there, because Machamp plus Martial Arts Dojo, if you're behind, does take the KO, especially if you have Machoke there in hand like he did. Obviously, you're missing an attachment. If this sticks around, though, that's pretty good. You might not need the Martial Arts Dojo, though, because Wailord already has 60 damage marked on it. So that's also something to think about, too.
It does, but maybe, let's see, Rough Seas puts it at 170. So yeah, I mean, I guess theoretically you don't need it at all. But Machamp's doing 220, right?
Mm-hmm. It is 200. 200 can attack next turn, and it would need like strong
200.
220. Yeah. But we see Water in a little bit of an awkward spot here, where they didn't have a second attacker already built up. Wailord's still 2 energy short. It's got the special energy, and we don't see Baxcalibur. We see Frostmoth in play. So Frostmoth is not as good as Baxcalibur in this position. So we see a Nessa here. I have to assume it's 4 energy, so they can go 2 energy to Wailord, energy to the active for turn, and still get the attack in. And it looks like that's what Gym Leader Josh is opting for.
And still has Inteleon Shady Dealings available in the future, which can help slam the door shut. If we don't see Machamp come down here, it looks like that's probably going to be it.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like I missed Splash Energy, being the energy on Citadel and Cetitan. We see Citadel just immediately back down. This is going to be tough for Bassquid to pull out. Just trading 1 for 1 with Whales is just so tough.
No tool on the Wailord, though. Could potentially leave the door open. What Machamp play do you need here? You need Raihan. You just need Raihan and 1 card in hand, so you need an energy or Machamp in hand.
Yeah, and that's the line, right? That's what you have to do this next turn. But what do the turns after that even look like? That's the kind of the question you need to ask yourself in this matchup. Because if you go Machamp, you take the KO, it can't attack the following turn without a switch up, and then you have Cetitan coming down maybe the next turn, or Inteleon, which also does a little bit of work to whatever you got. So this is going to be a tough one. Good news is Machamp does have 300 HP. If he gets evolved this turn, so 300 HP's good at going 2 for 1.
Maybe a Rescue Stretcher play to set up Okie Dokie. Three cards in hand probably isn't going to be enough.
Mm-hmm. What's kind of interesting is, we talked about what the metagame looked like at the last tournament, and it feels like everything that was said then is now kind of coming to fruition. We talked about Psychic not being super present. We talked about Wailord not being super present. These decks that are really good at taking care of Snorlax, and we've seen them come to play today already, and then we're seeing fighting come up. It feels like this entire tournament has kind of been built around the idea, or at least players are thinking that Colorless is going to be top dog. And we've already seen Colorless go down twice. Players are reacting. Wheatr, that's great.
Yeah, it's nice to see the metagame evolve. Obviously, new cards released has a big impact on it. Like Okie Dokie. Trying to think what else came out recently that helped quell the Snorlax issue, I think really it's only Okie dokie. It made fighting tremendously more popular, and we're seeing the effects of it. With eight Psychic players in the field, though, you have to think that Psychic will have a good time.
They did in round one, though, right? We talked about the metagame breakdown already, and it looked like Fighting and Colorless were doing well, and Psychic was not doing so great. Going back to our first round preview, Psychic had a 25% share and only a less than a 40% win rate.
Yeah, and you mentioned Wales. We have Bruno Neves from Brazil, and he's playing Wales as well. So I think, is this a stronger metagame overall? Are we seeing a stronger deck picks than previously, or is it just a different selection of players? What do you think?
Yeah, obviously, having different players. Like normally we have the CBW crew, and let's be honest, we all love to brew and build our own decks and play with it. You've talked about this a lot, about how we just love our decks and we try to play them a lot. And now we've got some new blood into the Discord, trying to get their names out there to a little bit. Got a little bit of I don't know, maybe that little bit of that wanting that fire. So here we've seen some really powerful decks coming out, some proven decks. And they're doing work, and they're doing what I feel like we're missing a bit. Some of these kind of builds that we haven't seen people mess with for a while because they've already felt really strong. They're coming in and they're winning. Here is a perfect example of Wailord just being so strong. We just haven't seen it during the normal weekly tournament. So I'm really, really excited to see this, obviously, besides your Leviathan deck. But, that's one we didn't even mention. SPO's playing your Leviathan build, right? So we've got at least 3 Wailord decks out there. Good to see.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if Wailord control is just a more complicated way to do the exact same thing that regular Whales does. I'm not sure about that.
Jeffrey throwing out here 4 fighting decks at 2-0. I mean, love to see it. I think this might be a Marnie concession here. Grabbing the energy. Basquid might let Gym Leader Josh take maybe one of the final KOs here, but I think he's just showing his cards off and being like GG's at this point.
In this specific matchup with Frigibax, Snom, Sobble, and Staryu, if you're going first as fighting and you Ting-Lu turn 2, or even turn 1, really, if you're going second, and Water misses any evolutions, then you can take some early knockouts with Ting-Lu and really set them back.
Yeah. We'll see if that plays out kind of that way. I'm still just not sold on the Ting-Lu in this particular deck, but maybe 30 damage is all you need sometimes. Here we go. Kyogre, Sobble, and you've got Finizen in the active. No, is that Finizen? Frigibax. Starting Riolu, a little bit of a bummer for fighting. Definitely not one you want to see typically.
No, and not, Costello's big on the 60 HP Riolu with the 20 damage, 1 energy attack. I think I can see that. That'd be donk potential here with with Guzmahala, essentially.
Yeah, I kind of hate for Costello for keep bringing that one up. Then you should be playing that one. I ended up ordering 2, and now I got to take my shinies out of my deck if I want to be optimal. It's frustrating. Just want to stare at pretty cards, Costello. Why'd you do it to me?
And I'm looking at Bruno's list. Bruno's only playing 9 energy with Kyogre and Special Waves Wailord. I wonder. That's interesting. That's just interesting to me. Also, the Evo, the Space Bacon Starmie. Kind of an odd list. It's like a combination of Hydro Pump, a typical Hydro Pump list, and special waves.
Yeah, I'm really interested by it too because, obviously Vitality Springs Blastoise has a lot of synergy when you think of special energies with the special energy Wailord, but he's running just the kind of consistent Excalibur line. How is he going to be able to find that special energy on that Wailord when he needs to? Obviously, Octillery helps a ton when you're drawing up to 5 every turn. It will just be interesting to see how it plays out. I definitely love his list and what it's doing because I do think that Wailord is the optimal Wailord in this day and age. We saw Mahomes' Hydro Pump Wailord really struggle against your Wailord. And not that it ever really got a chance to get powered up, but I just don't know if that Wailord is catching up these days. I think jumbo size is the way for the future.
I think so, personally. But it doesn't really. I think it demands its own build. That's me. That's just me personally. I'll be happy to see how Bruno pilots this, but you got Raihan and teammates to find special energy. So maybe with Shady Dealings, that's enough. But Water sees lots of cards with Octillery and Colorless, and who knows.
All right, so we're seeing Trainer's Mail into Tag Call, into Guzma Hala, which you talked about a potential Frigivax KO here. And when you're staring down Kyogre on the bench, it might be worth it to go ahead and take this KO if you have all the pieces for Guzma Hala. Obviously, discarding is a lot here. And then Guzman Hala also might let you get in with Ting Lu this turn. I don't know if you want your opponent to have access to Brooklet Hill either. Grabbing Pokemon? Oh, these are
discarding.
All right, yeah, Bicycle and Pokemon here.
Discarding Bicycle is interesting. I guess because your hand size is probably very small right now. Maybe he's got a draw supporter backing it up. Mm-hmm. But I think you're right. I think Ting Lu here is perfect.
Yeah. Ting Lu, he might need a retreat, and we can't play the dojo this turn. That might be for next turn. But if you do Ting Lu, Muscle Band, Strong Energy.
No. Well, he'd have to have U-turn board somehow.
Yeah, that's true too.
The donk here would have been really good, I think. Mm-hmm. But setting up Okidogi is also pretty good. Yeah. Water doesn't have an answer for it in terms of Hex or a Silent Lab. Mm-hmm. So Water's going to have to do 230 to knock it out. And Ron is not playing any HP boosters. Sorry, it's got Bravery Charm. So can actually potentially survive a Wailord attack.
All right, Ron just opting to throw down unit energy on Okidogi, nothing else. Didn't even play down the Floatstone that they grabbed. You see Bruno instantly jumping on that Brooklet Hill. Always hard to play down a Brooklet Hill into Water, who just needs that setup on the bench. That's why I think maybe that's what Ting Lu is for. This is just, I really love this matchup in total because there's a lot of like counterplay and, both decks are trying to get off their strategies, and this matchup just feels like a game of chess because there's not like any one thing you can really do to just take control of these games besides maybe, either Okidogi or Wailord, but each deck kind of has like their big mascot. It's like their multi-prize getter, and both of them are showing up here. We got Wailmer on the bench already and Okidogi showing up, so who's going to win?
Water seems in a good spot. Ultra Ball for Octillery. Yeah, wait, what was I seeing? Ultra Ball's in. Yeah, this is full setup. I think this is going to be tough.
Yeah, because I think, are we going to see, is there any way to get Rare Candy, Excalibur, Switch Card, and Energy would be like the dream here. And to be honest, with all that Water has available to it potentially this turn, that's not, out of sight. Get a Drizzile, get your artillery, empty out your hand. This could be a really, really good turn for Water, and does Fighting just have the tools to keep up? The answer's almost always been no before.
No.
That being said,
No,
Okidogi is
and
1 energy away from hitting in for 170 next turn.
yeah, this is the dream setup for turn 2. Going first, going to be an Octillery, Drizzile. Probably not going to have Excalibur online.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're Shady Dealings for Rare Candy. I don't know what's in your hand, but if you're doing that, you're foregoing Octillery, which seems kind of bad. I think going into Octillery this turn and attacking next turn is probably fine. Although I guess you might be scared of your Frigibacks getting KO'd here.
Yeah. Well, here we see Level Ball into Drizzile into Professor's Letter. So that makes me think that there is going to be a Excalibur this turn. Obviously, they grabbed the Snom.
I think they may just retreat. Well, they can't wave summoning without. Can't retreat and wave summoning. Yeah.
Looks like that Pot Helmet's already on the Wailmer too. Anything you put into the active is KO potential. Obviously, Fighting needs a switch tool and another energy to get it done, and we saw them discard a lot of cards last turn, but we saw them discard Bicycle, and like you mentioned, that probably means there's another way to get something going. But, Water's turn's not even done yet.
Yeah, some of the early Water turns can last forever.
This is a prime example when people listen to me talk about Ball Guy and how I don't like Ball Guy sometimes. Like, this turn took a little bit of time because of how many balls needed to be searched and then played. We had Hisuian Heavy Ball search the prizes. We had Ultra Ball, Dive Ball, Level Ball all being played simultaneously. Those turns can go on a bit. Alright, here's Fighting going Random Receiver.
Ooh, instead, saving Random Receiver actually rewarded. Instead of saving Bicycle.
Mm-hmm. They would have missed on Cynthia if they had done that. Looks like this is just straight into Cynthia here.
A Guzma on the Wailord here would have been so punishing.
Yeah, Guzma attach would have been magical.
But you got to have it, and that's not easy with a tiny hand.
Mm-hmm.
And no way to search the deck.
Alright, we see Fanfi come down. Fanfi usually, like the Don Fan for 1 energy does, 120 damage, is usually pretty good into a lot of matchups. But, we've got heavier HP Pokemon on the water side these days with Wailord. Kyogre has 140 HP. Don Fan getting a little bit left in the dust in terms of KO potential. Going straight into Lucario here, too, with the 2 energy retreat is a little intriguing too. I wonder what Ron has in mind here. Maybe they just have the escape rope.
Could be. There's a lot of potential here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just a float stone.
They still have the float stone from the previous turn, I believe. I don't think they attach it. They have that.
Well,
and they
Cynthia.
Have Arts Dojo. Have they played Cynthia yet?
I could be wrong.
Okay.
Probably not. I could be wrong about that.
I think they went Random Receiver, grabbed Cynthia, and then played the Evo instance. So I think we're still waiting on the Cynthia. I might be a little bit off on that, but time will tell here in a second. They are shuffling, which maybe means that they did, though. All right, there's Energy Lotto.
Gonna have a lot of looks at grabbing an energy this turn.
Mm-hmm. And Energy Lotto gets any
Cynthia.
energy. Are we looking at a whiff, though? We did. We were looking at a whiff. The Energy Lotto feel bads chat. Feel for you, Ron. I've been there before. Energy Lotto is a card I like to play a lot in Dragon. All right,
Lotto is in the name, after all.
All right, it's a little bit of a gamble. So it looks like they haven't played Cynthia because those are all cards they grabbed last turn and chose not to play. Here's Muscle Band, and choosing between Phanpy and Histowine Arcanine is interesting. So Fighting getting to play out its entire hand and then shuffle, draw 6 new cards. Very impressive. We've seen kind of 2 huge turns. One from Water, just getting the board basically set up. Not a lot of attackers ready on the Water side, but you feel it's coming. And then Fighting here, just still looking for that extra energy to attach to Okidogi to take the KO on this Frigivax. I think from what we know currently, I think that Water still has one more ball to either access Inteleon or Frosmoth that they didn't play last turn. So I'm not sure how back-breaking this KO on Frigivax will be, but definitely a good start by Fighting. Taking the first KO is really important.
Yeah, so now in order to take this knockout, gonna need to Shady Dealings into Teammates, Reversal, Wailord, but also have a way to retreat. It's doable. That's very doable for Water, especially if you've got Octillery.
Yeah,
But they have to have a way to find Inteleon.
Ooh, Rough Seas. Rough Seas getting dropped at an interesting time here.
Oh, well, that will not be an attack this turn.
Here's Rescue Stretcher.
Yeah, I'm also not sure why the Rough Seas came down. The dojo's not doing anything relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Rough Seas in hand to heal off the extra 10 damage, wherever that may make an impact. Because Donphan is knocking out Kyogre with the Muscle Band.
Mm-hmm.
160 from Lucario isn't doing anything. I guess that's knocking out Inteleon. So maybe that's relevant, but I don't think so.
Well, here's Teammates. So very fortuitous to have found that. I'm imagining they found that off the Octillery here. This could potentially set up an attack this turn. Like, if you get a way to get Inteleon, then you are potentially getting 3 trainer cards this turn. Depending on the amount of energy you have, you need either Frosmoth, Floatstone 2 energy, which I think you
Letter was played last turn.
Yeah.
So it's got Bucket left.
Bucket
plus
I think
2
there's
energy.
also at least 1 energy in hand because they lettered last turn, got the cards, but then they also played Recycle this turn.
Yeah, so as is typical for Water, it's capable of doing some ridiculous stuff. This is turn 3. Going first, and Fighting might just be out of the game.
Yeah, if they get the Okidogi KO here, I just don't really see any way for them to manage this Wailord, if it's Wailord that ends up coming up, especially with Okidogi down. So there is Frosmoth. Does Bruno just have the energies? All right, there's Inteleon too. All right, that's
just had it.
Yeah. It could have Teammates for both those cards, right?
Now, see, I don't understand the Evo incense for Frosmoth. Why not just... Maybe it was in hand already. Mm-hmm. But I would leave Evo incense in the deck, assuming it came from Teammates, and just take the card, because you still want Excalibur. You need ways to search it.
Well, there's U-turn board and Bucket off the Inteleon, which is setting up the Wailord attack this turn. U-turn board is a card you don't normally see played in Water. There's not a lot of 1 energy retreaters in the deck. You know, Frosmoth is 2, Octillery is 2. I think even Frigivax has more than that. Inteleon's really... I think Inteleon and Starmie are your only 2 1 energy retreaters. So I'm actually finding U-turn board's inclusion really neat. Obviously, Bruno has enough reps in his deck to know where it needs to go, and it's paying off dividends here. He even has the extra energy to attach to Kyogre. What a flex. What a flex, Bruno. So imposing board here. We've got Wailord, Hot Helmet, Rough Seas, fully set up. I mean, if you're fighting here, what are you thinking, Wheatr? You thinking GGs, or are you thinking you got a way to come back?
It depends on the hand. Maybe a second Okie Dokie makes this playable, but it's not looking good.
Mm-hmm. Lucario's... Okay, there's Chaotic Swell to get rid of Rough Seas, which is one... I mean, if you know that your opponent has Chaotic Swell, then maybe playing the Rough Seas to bump the dojo isn't so bad. Field Blower, getting rid of Hot Helmet here. Maybe even the U-turn board. Chooses not to. Makes sense. Alright. Let's see what finding. Alright, Karina here. What's Karina get? Probably... There's the Don fan. So... If you go up into Don fan this turn instead of using Lucario, are you gaining any sort of mathematical advantage? I don't know. You are setting up your Hisuian Arcanine potentially, but it does look like Lucario is going to be the attack. You are losing your pivot here with Floatstone. I'm not sure if that will matter. Tough decisions for Ron here.
Yeah, it's hard to say without seeing the hand, but I don't see it.
Yeah, from the way that this turn has gone, you definitely just see Wailord's going to go 2 for 1 potentially here. I mean, if they have access to Mao and Lana, I mean, it might just be GG's after this. Recycle Energy, just showing how great it is again. I know we've talked about, great energies in Gym Leader Challenge before, but Recycle Energy is kind of popping up towards the top of the list these days. We've seen it run in Dino's Lightning list, that ended up taking the NAIC Championship down. We see it used a lot with Wailord, just an energy that never goes away. It's just always something good to have. Lucario putting in 120 damage on the Wailord, which makes the Don fan lethal.
Yeah, and is Bruno playing Mallow and Lion? No.
All right. And this is
No Lusamine.
Okay. Again, I don't hate any of those cards not being included, just because Water just has so much. You don't necessarily need to do a build around. You can just play inherently strong cards, and when you have like Kyogre and Wailord and Excalibur and Inteleon, you've got a lot of different ways to take a KO, so not being all in on the Wailord, paying off a little bit here. We're seeing energy getting spread about. We see 1 to Inteleon, 2 to Kyogre. Just having that U-turn board on a 160 HP Inteleon right now, just making it such a good pivot. Really liking Bruno's inclusion of U-turn board. Alright, here's Wailord Smash. We see prizes going 4 to 5.
Ron needs to get another Pokemon on the bench for Arcanine to do anything. And I think playing the Muscle Band prematurely is going to cost him because Arcanine can't take a knockout on Kyogre.
Well, we see Cynthia and Caitlin discarding Excadrill to draw 3 cards here. Obviously, with Kyogre looming, you would have loved to have Machoke set up, but I don't think we're going to see Machop or Machoke get set down this turn. Looks like maybe it might just be basic energy attachment, get rid of Wailord. And that's what it is. We see Earthquake here, damage counters going to Growlithe. But we do see, again, at least keeping up the prize trade decently. It's 4 to 4 on prizes, but Ron just feels so far behind.
No, Bruno's only playing 6 water energy, and 5 of them were in play already. 6. They're all 6 in play. And so splash energy is the only. Sorry, recycle just went to hand. But in terms of a Kyogre attack this turn, which is what you really want, there's actually not a way to do it without Nessa. So if he's got Nessa, then great, but no way to search it.
Brooklet Hill coming down, I think just as a way for Bruno to draw more cards off of this artillery. Goes into Baxcalibur, which is very nifty. You got both of your Rain Dancers online. And there's Buddy Buddy Poffin. Is Staryu Starmie still in the deck? Because I think you mentioned the lack of energies. Staryu Starmie is basically the easiest way to get it done. One of that line might be prized, or else I feel like we would have seen it a little bit earlier. Bruno's done a really masterful job of navigating the early KO on the Frigibax and kind of pivoting to Frostmoth and using, a card like, U-turn board off of probably Teammates, or I think maybe off his Inteleon that he got off of Teammates to really make that Frostmoth work for him. So, kudos to him. Wait, it looks like maybe your camera dipped out for a second. Not you back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All good. All right, there goes the Recycle Energy onto Inteleon. All right. Yeah, this is going to be another KO on the Donphan. More damage on the Growlithe. Here's Artillery to draw. Looks like just one card. Staryu out there being another great pivot. I mean, again, it feels like Water's game to lose. Just having access to these great consistency engines just makes this matchup feel unfair if it gets to this point. I was really excited to hear Tricky Jim mention. Oh, does this not KO Donphan? What's Donphan's HP? 130?
150.
150. Oh, dang. I was looking at it seeing 120.
Yeah, a strong energy is going to be the only thing that will allow a knockout on Inteleon.
Mm-hmm.
But Ting-Lu follow-up would take a knockout. I don't know, really. You're not doing much else with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only way for Ron to win this is to set up a second Okie Dokie and to have Water miss Starmie somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be tough to see. Tough to see Fighting Duet. We see Ting-Lu come down. I don't know if there are any more stadiums left in the deck for either side. So far, we've seen Brooklet Hill from both sides. We've seen Chaotic Swell, Rough Seas, and we've seen Martial Arts Dojo all be discarded. So is Ting-Lu's first attack even going to be relevant? Well, we see the Bravery Charm, I think, go on the Ting-Lu here. It's a little glaring, but I think that is a Bravery Charm.
Yeah, that's the Bravery Charm.
So maybe there are more stadiums in Ron's deck.
No, Ron, you're correct. Ron has played them all.
Okay. Drillbur on the bench is interesting. Obviously, doesn't really matter too much. There's not a lot of spread coming from Water's side, but he did discard the Excadrill. And I don't know, if you're playing Rescue Stretcher, you definitely want to get Okie Dokie back, I think. This is where you just can't wait for Night Stretcher to come out soon enough. Give me that Night Stretcher.
Oh yeah, it'll be so good in fighting. Several decks it'll really give a big boost to.
Alright, Arvin, it looks like just grabbing Escape Rope. Escape Rope into Arcanine, potentially?
Yeah, I think you take the attack with Arcanine while you can. And if you end up getting a knockout here, that's actually interesting. Oh, why not send up Kyogre? I guess maybe you're worried about strong energy, but I think that's really unlikely. He would have just attacked with Donphan if that was the case. So send up Kyogre.
I wonder if getting Kyogre stuck in the active is in the back of Bruno's mind here. He does fall behind the prize trade. Although this does let him take a double KO, if I'm not mistaken, right? He gets to take out Arcanine and then put 20 on Donphan, so he actually does get to go ahead on prizes here.
No, Donphan has 30 left.
Does it have 150? Yeah, you're right.
But there is Nessa and Starmie, so that's gonna be game. That's the exact combo he needed. Can have Wailord round 2 next turn. Or Kyogre, whatever he chooses.
Yeah, Wailmer getting the 2 energies attached to it and diversifying Luxurious Cape. Ooh, has Fuel Blower been used yet on fighting side?
No.
Something was discarded. I think Pot Helmet was discarded earlier, so I do think Fuel Blower did get
Oh, you're
used
right. You're right.
So yeah, the Luxurious Cape feels pretty free. Maybe not on the Wailmer. I actually like Bruno's decision to maybe wait a turn. But yeah, he's going to go ahead and Inteleon for the attack here. I don't hate putting the energy on, or the extra damage on Donphan here, because it does force Donphan to go into the active and basically miss another KO, and then Guzma could be another potential double KO turn. So some mind games going here.
Bruno's deck feels very, very weak to Parallel. Because you don't really have room for Starmie. You need draw, you need energy acceleration, and you need a backup attacker. So with only 6 basics, relying on that Starmie, that feels dicey to me.
Oh, it looks like we have the strong energy play coming out. That's
okay, little surprise attack.
Pretty good.
It's good. It's gonna get the knockout this turn, but
Recycle energy powers up Wailord.
He's actually ahead in prizes.
I know. He's navigated from the positions he's been in. I think he's navigated this game very well. And when you look at Water's board state, it's amazing that Ron is still in this game. So excellent piloting on his end. I think it might just turn out that Wailord is just, and Inteleon and all these wonderful, water cards might just be too much. And here we see Recycle Energy, Luxurious Cape, U-turn board on the Starmie, Hisuian Heavy Ball, Get Back Energy. I mean, it's just an engine that's running itself.
Now, maybe Ron has already burned the escape rope. Trying to think. The Tinglu's not doing anything. I think you had to save the Bravery Charm if possible for a second Okie Dokie. Because that survives a Wailord attack.
Yeah, that's really the only way. Here we're seeing an end too, and we see fighting being ahead on prizes being its downfall yet again. Going to 2 cards. What combination of, these 2 cards plus the draw gets Ron back into this game. Again, I know he's ahead on prizes, but he's behind for sure. I think it would need to be a combination of Rescue Stretcher, Raihan, Retreat Aid. I think it has to be exactly that for him to stay in this game. And even then, Wailord Luxurious Cape might just close the door.
Yep.
Energy to spare here, going 1 on Kyogre, 1 on Baxcalibur. When you're setting up your Rain Dancer for an attack, you know it's good. Bruno doing an excellent job here, making sure he shows his opponent all the energy attached, all the tools. Love to see it. That is a gracious webcam player right there. All right, 2-2.
Yeah, and well played this game. It feels like only minor misplay I've seen is not promoting the Kyogre when Nessa and Starmie were in hand.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I mean, there's nothing to dislike about this gameplay.
All right, we're seeing a little bit of stall tactic here coming out from Ron. Guzma into Ting-Lu. Aurora Energy discarding Machop. Oh, I think you would like to have seen sooner. That must have been his prize. Just 30 damage on the Octillery. Can't even spread because there's no stadium. But here's Scoop Up Net. GG's is what that feels like right there. There's good old Drillbur in the active. I think there's Karina. The Excadrill is in the discard pile, if I'm not mistaken. And Luxurious Cape showing it off. What combination of Pokemon item cards are going to get Ron out of this situation? And I think he's searching his deck and realizing that there isn't one at the moment. Probably going to be a Karina Scoop.
I like that sideways energy stacking.
Mm-hmm. There's the Rescue Stretcher. There's just no single Pokemon that survives, fortunately. Excadrill's interesting here. And it just dies. Well played by Water. Well played by fighting with the hands that they were dealt. It's just really hard when your entire Water opponent's board is set up on turn 2, basically into turn 3. You've done all you could to get Frigibax off the battlefield, and they just slam a Wailord in your face. I think Wailord ended up taking 5 prizes that game. And I think Inteleon maybe took 1. Maybe it was 4 and 2, but just between Wailord and Inteleon, you just see the power of all that Water has. Bolt, hero from the Dominican Republic. Love playing games against him again in the Async League. Excited to see what his Psychic list can do. Bruno Neves playing in Brazil. Running some good leagues down there. We're starting with Mimikyu. Mimikyu is a great way to handle basically Wailord. Like, that's kind of what you're hoping to get for in this matchup right now. Starting it is a little tough. It's a reasonable starter, though, since it has the Filch attack, which lets you draw 2 for a Colorless energy. So starting it's great. Using it later is great. I mean, I think this Marshadow might be doing work. If you're Water, you are concerned about this Mimikyu either copying a Kyogre attack or copying your Wailord's attack. It's just one of the best cards in this matchup. So seeing it early, just a reminder what you need to play around. Bolt going Nest Ball here. You love to see these Psychic lists get routes up and running. Routes into Kirlia is obviously the dream. Since Bolt's deck really relies on something like Inkay and Malamar, if that's prized, it's not too big of a deal. You can kind of pivot there, but we do see him go ahead and drop down the routes. He's playing Memory Skip routes, which I do think is the optimal routes if you're considering it. Only 60 HP, but basically you can disable one of your opponent's attacks if you use it. So we just see a pass, no energy attachments. Might be saving those in hand. Just getting routes to the bench sometimes is enough for Psychic, especially when his build is really focused on basics. Frosmoth in the active here. We do see Bruno opting for 50 HP 2 energy retreat cost Snom. A lot of debate about what the optimal Snom is. And this is the Call for Family one, though. Kyogre gets benched. think we saw a little bit of a debate about whether or not to play an Ultra Ball, thinking about his sequencing or what he wants to do. Maybe save Ultra Ball for a turn next turn. Obviously, discarding 2 cards is a bit of a cost, especially on turn 1. All right, there is the Ultra Ball. We're going to see Colorless getting discarded. And Artillery. Oof, that's a tough decision. Has not searched the deck yet, so don't even know from where it's in there, but it feels like maybe this is a little bit of a desperation play to a certain degree. Or maybe there's a plan. Maybe Artillery just doesn't seem as important to him. Yeah, with the opponent only benching routes the last turn, Colorless seems like a pretty easy discard early. Might be a pretty important VS Seeker target later on. I mean, so often these matchups you see, Psychic and Water both with big benches. Parallel is obviously going to be really important for Psychic to find at some point. Ooh, Wailord coming down. You can already see that bench growing. Again, I bet Bolt is looking to find Parallel. Probably not this following turn, but the turn after, just to kind of make it difficult for his opponent to kind of get everything that they need set up. No supporter from Water's side, but we do see the pass back. All right, Evo Soda here being shown, not played yet, but shown by Bolt. Obviously, getting right into Kirlia is really important, so it looks like sequencing is on Bolt's mind. All right, Evo Soda being dropped on the table. Again, the only legal target is Kirlia here. Bolt did Nest Ball earlier, so you expect him to be very good at prize checking. And there is Kirlia. Getting your draw engine online turn 2 is just so important. Then we're going to see Battle Compressor. Is this maybe for Giratina to get another bench attacker going? Does he have some sort of Tulip play, maybe even Rescue Stretcher? I saw him pull Natu to the front of his deck. It looks like grabbing Marshadow. This would be a pretty sick discard 3 Pokemon, play Tulip as kind of like a Bridget. Yeah, and I think that's what we're going to end up seeing happening. We might even see the shuffle, discard, and energy to Kirlia. I think I would have liked to see discard the energy to Kirlia, draw 2. Okay, then you can get it back with Tulip. But I guess you might wait to Kirlia until after you play Marshadow to kind of give you a larger hand and let you know. It does look like he has Parallel in hand. That's a tough sell to Marshadow away. So we do see Bolt make that decision. We'll see what happens, whether that comes back to bite him in the following turns. Parallel is just so good into Water. We talked about it last matchup. Bruno wants Staryu and Starmie to be getting energy back from the discard pile while they have their Rain Dancers up. 2 attackers, so Parallel is so good. I think Bruno is betting that he'll be able to find it later. I'd even be able to find it off this Marshadow. Both opponents have had turns to set up. No one's had much of an impact on the game so far. This is what Psychic tends to do pretty well, is set up while they disrupt, while Water doesn't have that same disruption. So we are going to see Refinement being used. The discard is Guzma, which is a fine thing. He's playing Lusamine, VS Seeker. Most of these Psychic lists do run Palpad as well, so discarding resources like this and getting them back later is not that big of a deal. Drawing 2 off the Refinement here. See if anything else gets benched. I think that's not the case. So I guess pass over to Water. 7 cards in hand for Psychic. We know that Water has 5. Bruno mulling over his options here. Going to drop an Evo Incense. So Evo Incense almost assuredly getting Drizzile here. We saw him grab Sobble off the Ultra Ball. So again, prize checking is key. Looking back at his list. It was fun to see the Tulip Battle Compressor play. I'm glad that I talked about that a little bit earlier and then it came to fruition. But looking at all the different options for supporter recovery that he has, Bolt has, VS Seeker for sure, Lusamine. Don't know if I'm seeing a Pal Pad though, so maybe discarding that. Guzma a little bit more costly. We are going to see Evolution Incense go into Drizzile. So Shady Dealings here is active. What trainer is he going to get? It's tough to tell in this situation. Probably Irida is almost always the call off of the Drizzile. But since you don't have a Rain Dancer set up, or really an attack this turn, you might see him kind of pivot and focus more on setup. Really no attackers on Bolt's side either. Also, this Snom is stuck in the active, at least with another energy attachment. Alright, there's Arvin. Oh, Bald Guy. Alright, so we are seeing him focus more on setup this turn. Which I think just shows that maybe some of the lack of options. There's Hisuian Heavy Ball and Nest Ball, and I think the middle ball is Dive Ball. Yep. We saw an early, so Level Ball over Hisuian Heavy Ball. Let's see what gets played. So we got Nest Ball for sure. Nest Ball might be grabbing Remoraid here. I wonder if we'll see Dive Ball be played. Obviously, Dive Ball gets any water Pokemon, so saving it to grab Inteleon next turn is great. But keeping cards in your hand that the Psychic player knows about is always tough in these certain situations, just because Psychic has so many ways to disrupt your hand. So there's that, So we've seen Nest Ball. I think Level Ball is getting played as well. We see Remoraid and Frigivax. So Bruno is, obviously favoring getting both of his Rain Dancers online. He might be expecting this Snom to get KO'd. Dive Ball not being played yet. I do think he might be considering saving that for the Inteleon next turn. And here we see an energy attached to Wailmer. And then he's going to pass. Here you see Psychic drawing, 8 cards in hand, full grip. Kirlia online. Here's a Level Ball, so you're going to probably see Malamar here. And then it's just whether or not you can find an attacker. Oh. So this is just Psychic Mirage. It's Selenic Mirage, and so it's playing the Lunatone that does more damage for each Psychic energy that's attached. And you see Level Ball being able to get that here. So there it is. Does he have access to Gardevoir and one of the accelerators? I think that's what we're about to see. This could be a very interesting turn. So there's Xatu. There's the Lunatone. You see 2 energy in hand. That's an attachment for turn. That's an attachment from Xatu. And see how this turn's going to play out. A lot of sequencing to be played on Bolt's part. He's going to shuffle here. Which makes me think he's either going to go into a Kirlia or Xatu. I think if you're Bolt, you're going to probably end up Xatuing first. You have the other energy in hand. If you found Gardevoir or if you find Malamar, what you do probably shifts a little bit. If you end up finding Malamar, you're probably going to discard that energy to Kirlia. So there's the energy. That's the way he's choosing to sequence it. Let's see what he finds. He found another energy again. Discarding it to Kirlia makes a lot of sense. So here's Kirlia. Let's see what he ends up choosing to discard. He is mulling it over a bit. He knows he wants to Kirlia. He just doesn't know the card quite yet. Alright, there's Cynthia. So he's digging for Gardevoir. There's a Hisuian Heavy Ball. I think he might show us Giratina here, else I would think that he would have grabbed it off the Tulip. There's Bench Barrier Mew. Okay, in the face of a Kyogre, that makes a bit of sense. Obviously, he has to grab it if it's in his prizes. Alright, so really we're waiting. So there's Scoop Up. He's really digging for Gardevoir or Malamar this turn. And there's just Gardevoir. So he's got the energy in hand. You're going to see him attached to the Lunatone. He's probably going to Marshadow Retreat into Lunatone. Take a KO here on the Frosmoth. Or the Snom at least. Yet to play a supporter for turn, I think, too. So he's still got that option available to him. Just a really busted Psychic turn yet again. So there's Marnie. So he has Marshadow in hand, but he's opting to see one extra card on his side. He also knows that his opponent has Dive Ball in hand. So, getting Dive Ball to the bottom of the deck basically stops Inteleon to a certain degree. Obviously, you can find it off this draw or another way to search it out. But I think really intelligent play on both sides there. Alright, we're just going to see the retreat from Mimikyu into Lunatone. And here we see KO from Lunatone and the Snom. Really awesome seeing Gardevoir putting in some work. Gardevoir, a Pokemon loved by many, but it just gets outshined a bit by Gallade. So it's cool to see it being played here in this build. Bruno going up into Drizzile here. Let's get these prizes set up. Alright, there's U-turn board. And here is a Quick Ball. Quick Ball discarding Escape Rope. So we know he had 5 cards in hand. He's getting Vulpix. Vulpix is an interesting grab. It means that probably not a lot is going on this turn. We've seen Bruno the last couple turns really focus on setting up. So last turn he ended up Drizzying for Ball Guy. And this turn again he's getting the Vulpix down instead of something else like a Staryu or a Starmie. So here comes Guzma. He's looking to maybe stick something in the active. He's going to choose the Gardevoir. He's going to go up into Vulpix. Here's the attachment for turn. I think he's got 0 cards in hand. And so he's going to go, and I imagine he has to grab, Inteleon. He might even choose to go Excalibur here, hoping that maybe the Inteleon can get him a rare candy. Or he might have to maybe focus with the Inteleon to get a recovery card because Remoraid has been discarded. Remoraid was discarded on turn 1 to an Ultra Ball to get Sobble down. And so this Remoraid will not be drawing him up to the 5 cards unless he can find that recovery card. Inteleon helps a lot. Oof. Hate to see that. That's Frosmoth Excalibur. So that might mean Inteleon is prized, and that's never good to see. Again, I think that's the only 2 cards in his hand are those 2 cards, Frosmoth, Excalibur, neither of which are playable on their own. Alright, straight into Mysterious Treasure, discarding, is that Giratina, getting Malamar. So this is really where this Gardevoir is going to shine with both of these accelerants on the bench. You've got Xatu attaching from hand, you've got Malamar attaching from the discard, Mimikyu is just ready to copy Wailord at any moment. Even a Kyogre attack is really good at this point. And the fact that you get the added synergy of discarding a Giratina is just so good. And then I think we're just going to see Giratina plopped down here on the bench. Put 2 damage counters. Let's see where he ends up going. Don't think it matters at this point. I think you probably want to soften up Kyogre. A lot of your basics are going to do 130, or at least Giratina does 130. So I think softening up Kyogre has a little bit of a merit. So Remoraid for sure. And it looks like Drizzile. Which 160, 150 is a number that you can end up hitting, especially with Muscle Band with your Giratina if you need to. So it looks like they attach energy from hand to Giratina. Energy, yeah, so that's the 3 attachments that they get for turn. Do they have a switch? Oh yeah, they do have a switch. An escape rope is big here. It's going to make Bruno choose his selection first. This is where I would have liked to have seen that damage counter go on the Kyogre. Because if the damage counter was on the Kyogre, it'd be 130 right now, which is perfectly Giratina range. So we're going to see Kyogre come into the active. And so now we're going to see him Bolt kind of decide what he's going to do. Can't remember the perfect rate of attack for what Lunatone does. I think it's 30 plus 30 more for each energy. So it's got 4 attached, so it's doing 150. So Lunatone is going to take the knockout here. So he was pretty well insulated from anything that turn. And then we're going to see a Colress. Colress for a bunch. So what we're seeing on the current board state is we're going to see 9 cards in the Psychic player's hand with a fully set up board. And on the opposite end, we're going to see Water with only 2 cards in hand. The only 2 cards in Water's hand, at least to my understanding, are Excalibur and Frosmoth. So 2 Pokemon that they can't play currently on board. And we saw them not grab Inteleon last turn or play it. They had an option to get it off of Vulpix's attack. U-turn board on Xatu here, pretty sweet. There is an evolution in TM going on Malamar, probably just to get out of hand and get out of deck. Don't need it when you're set up. All 3 attachments have been used this turn. Colress has been played. I think all that's left for him to do is take the KO on Kyogre. Kyogre's down. Psychic player goes to 4 on prizes. I think this Gardevoir is already kind of expensive. I think we're about to see people be buying this Gardevoir left and right if we continue to see Bolt here putting up some good results. Alright, Scoop Up Net was either the draw or something that he already had in hand. U-turn board came back to hand. So yeah, that was the Psychic player's hand. Their draw was Scoop Up Net here. We're going to see Vulpix again. So there's Wailord, and there is the middle evolution line. They grabbed Excalibur last turn. Again, I'm wondering why they didn't just grab the Frigibax. They might have thought that their hand would be disrupted, and maybe they were trying to bait that to a certain degree. They're going to grab Wailord and Frigibax. Or Frigibax Evolution, I can never remember all those 3. Excalibur, I know, is the last line. Oh, Artivax. Artivax is the 90 HP Pokemon. Yeah, I think, it had Water. I think Water is suffering a little bit from poor prizing to a certain degree. They discarded Octillery really early in the game, and it's coming back to bite them a bit here, just with the amount of hand disruption that Psychic has had. Looks like Bolt might be asking for some clarification on Wailmer. I think they might have VS Seeker Guzma play in mind. Alright, here's Hisuian Heavy Ball, which we know that Bolt had to grab off the prizes because he's already used it before. Showing a Galarian Articuno, which can do 120 snipe damage. No bench space currently. That might be relevant at some point. If you're Bolt, I think you're hoping that you can take care of Sobble or Wailmer this turn. I think if you take care of Sobble, yeah, here's VS Seeker. We'll see. It's going to be Guzma for sure. What's the Guzma target? Is it going to be Wailmer or is it going to be Drizzile? Wailmer. I respect this decision a lot because Wailord having effectively 230 HP is going to be very tough for Psychic to deal with in this situation. Drizzile lets them keep playing the game. I would not be surprised if we see Drizzile Nessa here, just because of all the important Pokemon that are currently in the discard pile. We're definitely going to see Drizzile something. Alright, there's Frigibax. It's his evolution, Artivax to start. And I promise, guys, I'm going to stop messing it up at some point. Drizzile, Shady Dealing. See if Bruno agrees that maybe Nessa is the right play. Of course, it could be something different. There's just a lot of pressure from the psychic side, and your hand's just never safe. Obviously, if this was Gallade, you would be maybe a little bit more scared of hand destruction, but right now you're kind of just concerned with everything that's happening on board. That's what the Psychic Mirage Gardevoir does for you. We do see Bruno go Nessa. Can't tell you how reassuring it is sometimes for you to make a call and then to someone do that call. It makes me think that I know what I'm talking about sometimes. So, Rough Seas, which is an interesting drop. It does heal the damage off of Remoraid here. And then we are going to see Nessa being played. So Wailmer and Artillery for sure. I think we see 3 cards in hand. There's Snom as well. 2 energy. Am I missing is Artillery not in the discard pile? Was that shuffled in earlier? There's no way you don't get Artillery here, right? Okay, there we go. Artillery was in the discard pile. There it is. I mean, I actually kind of like the Snom play, because that's one less card in your hands you can draw up to Artillery, and it's something that might help you in the long run. We see back Excalibur. Someone in chat might have to remind me, did Frigibax not evolve this turn? We're doing so much talking, it might have been last turn, so I'll have to watch that back. I'm not entirely sure. Bolt's letting it happen, so I have to assume that it was, in fact, last turn that it evolved in Artabax. We're going to see him go up into Alolan Vulpix again, using U-turn board to retreat, and he's just going to grab the entire Starmie line. Again, it's 3 to 6 on prizes. Here we see Evolution Incense. I think just being played to maybe take a look at the deck and see what's in there. Now, he's only running 7 energy, and we're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in play. So once these attackers go down, we have to think about how Bolt's going to recover it. But it just doesn't matter. He's taking another prize here, not even playing a supporter, just conserving his resources in his hand. I think he's got a huge hand of like 10 cards at this point. And I think he feels pretty confident because, Bruno is so far behind. Bruno has to do something, and hand disruption just doesn't feel like a luxury that Bruno can afford at this point. He needs to start playing cards a little bit more proactively. Here's Wailord, which is a very proactive card. Benches Staryu. Does he have a special energy? That's the question. Can he get hit? And here's the problem. Even if he takes out this Giratina, it's just coming back and dropping just dropping counters somewhere. I mean, this Staryu is not super safe. And then even then, Wailord pops up. This Mimikyu is just sitting in the wings. Mimikyu is just, if you're a Psychic player and you're not running Mimikyu, I'm strongly going to encourage you to do that. Obviously, Neolego also a very, very good card. So I get it for some builds, but man, Mimikyu is so good into the meta currently. Just the fact that it can deal with 2 of the bigger issues in the format, and Snorlax and Wailord, so good. Alright, Recycle Energy is the grab off of Raihan after attaching to Drizzile. Makes a lot of sense. Just copycat Mimikyu, though, just sitting there. It does need a special energy, but I think we might, with all the cards in hand that Bolt has, I think we probably will just see it played instantly. Alright, first prize for water being taken. Draw. Is it a snap drop? There's only 1 special energy in Bolt's list. It's just the mystery energy. I haven't seen it played yet. But there it is. I mean, when your hand's that big, you just have it all. So flexing here, dropping that. Here's energy retrieval. I'll pull back 2 more energy. Are we going to see Giratina maybe pop down? Or are we going to see Articuno? All right, Articuno. Are you instantly attaching 1? I think he wants to save 1 for the Xatu draw. So there's an energy. Draw 2 cards. So I think this basically is game with 3 separate attackers built up. It's going to be, probably Mimikyu stepping up. Oh, teammates even too. This has just been a game about Psychic having it all. So teammate's going to find 2 cards. I mean, what do you do as the water player here? Feel bad for Bruno. He's played a very good tournament so far. He's still 3-0. After this, he's going to be 3-1. But Psychic is putting on a show. This Gardevoir is showing how powerful it can be. Articuno, 120 Snipe, is showing how powerful it can be as well. And this is a Psychic list you can tell that he's put a lot of love and work into. All right, we're going to see Parallel come down. All right, and it's got to be the Staryu, right? This is actually a really good play, too, because as Bolt that he has to leave something that's in Articuno Snipe range. Because it's either Staryu or Artillery. There's Earthen Vessel, grabbing 2 energy. I don't know. I mean, Psychic's so far ahead, and I'm wondering what plans he has with these energy, but I think keeping Earthen Vessel as a way to search for energy later might have been more to my liking, because I don't think he has any more attachments. Right? Because he attached Mystery Energy this turn. And then he used Xatu on Articuno. So I think there was an extra attachment there. Let me step in and say something. Hey, Bolt. Hey, Bolt, can you hear me? Hey, Bolt, can you hear me? Hey, can you guys hear me? Hey, can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Hey, did you accidentally attach an extra energy that turn? Yeah. But you played Mystery Energy that turn as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so there should be 1 less on Lunatone. All right. Thanks. All right, appreciate you. All right, cool. Thanks, Spence. I appreciate you getting me. Trying to help organize the event and do all this stuff can be difficult at times. All right, there we go. Things should be back and should be good. No one should be listening to me and everyone should be muted. All right. So there's 1 prize less for Psychic to take. I mean, I don't think that any of that would have affected the outcome of the game, and obviously that was a very long turn. Yeah, thanks, Spence. Trying our best. Just happened to have the day off to a certain degree. Like, normally I'm never, ever, ever going to be available on the weekends, but just very fortunate that I had this day off in order to do these things. Finally finding Inteleon here. So we see grab Iono and Pot Helmet. U-turn board is still on the Inteleon. So do they have the energies to power up Excalibur? Because you're behind, you need to start taking KOs, but, double tool attachment, right? Am I wrong? Here's a Guzma. Okay, cool. All right. This is obviously a very, very intense game, and the way that are they realizing it now? Yeah, there we go. All right. Self-correction. Love to see it. All right, up into Inteleon. Got the 2 energy attached. I'm going to take the KO. So 160 HP here. Lunatone has technically 6 energy attached. It's just about getting Gardevoir out of the active at this point. I don't think a KO is going to be taken. What's Gardevoir's HP? People play new cards, I don't know. So Gardevoir's down. Am I missing something? Oh, it's 110 HP. Oh, that's a squishy stage 2. So yeah, it's getting taken out here. And it looks like, just Galarian Articuno is going to finish off that game. So GG's, very well played match. A lot of back and forth towards the end there. But man, that was kind of a steal by Psychic all the way through. Psychic and fighting. Psychic and fighting. All right, we're going to see Okidogi versus Mr. Mime Bench Barrier. If you're Stack Attack, how do you feel about that? I think you don't hate Mr. Mime being in the active against Okidogi. You might need to buy a couple turns here, especially if it's attach, go. All right, we see Nest Ball here. I might need to shorten up this screen so we can see the bench. You can see Sore Thumb Collector obviously knows the deck list. One of the great things about open deck list tournaments is that you do know what your opponent is playing. So obviously Machoke is going to be a priority for Sore Thumb. All right, what else? Nest Ball, Energy Attachment. I mean, that's scary enough as it is. Okidogi's just so good. Like, obviously, I didn't think it would solve a lot of the issues that Fighting had. But one of the things it does do is it can just win the game on turn 2 if it's left unanswered, right? It's got the Snorlax syndrome, as we'll call it. Where just attach can sometimes be good enough. Well, Fighting finally has its attach game plan. So right off the bat, we see Professor's Letter coming out for Stack Attack. This is where if you're the fighting player, you're like, if he grabs 1 energy, he might be Marshallowing me. If he grabs 2, he might be fine. Always something to think about. This also might be his only way to deck search before he quick balls away another important resource. So Professor's Letter sequencing here really, really important with it. If you're Stack Attack right now, you're probably thinking about turn 1 Marshadow because it's fighting, because sometimes it just works them. We saw Sore Thumb Collector also go basic energy there. You'd think that if he had the special energy in hand, he might play it, although, if you know what is in Stack Attack's deck list, you might not be doing that because you know that he might be playing Enhanced Hammer. And I think that we saw on his list earlier that it was in fact playing Enhanced Hammer. Let me just double check because we have access to deck list here. Enhanced Hammer. So maybe that is a smart play if you've looked at his deck list beforehand not to play it out. Stack Attack still resolving this Professor's Letter, unless I missed that while I was looking away at the deck list. Alright. 1, 2. Pretty slick energies, too. Gotta appreciate the foils and the Play Pokemon stamped versions there. Alright, shuffling up. Oh, no. Oh, missed check-in. Hate to see it. It happens often. Subject, you are a hero. Again, for people who don't know, subject is basically the heart and blood. Heart and soul and blood and all those good things of Cardboard Warriors. Without him, things would not function the way that they do. Subject, we appreciate you. Alright. We're going to see Colorless' experiment. Wow, nice. You don't see that very often. The old natural have it in hand. We're going to see 2 cards lost zoned here. Nothing else benched at the moment, though. We did see him shuffle up here. I don't think that they would sequence this the way that they would to just end up Marshadowing. Stack Attack is really conservative with his Marshadows, which I really appreciate. And while he is conservative with his Marshadows, he also loves to play red card. I think he just plays red card in his decks, too. Subject is my favorite subject, believe it or not. As a teacher, very rarely do I like other subjects. Alright, comfy. Alright, this is looking close to a perfect start. And here's level ball. It's interesting because I think that both players would want their starts to be similar to what's actually happening on the screen. Because I think if you're fighting, you want a quick okie dokie with access to Machop. And we see Machop already on the bench here. And I think simultaneously, if you were Lost Zone, you would want to get a fast, Sableye or 10 cards in the Lost Zone as quickly as you could. So the Colorless experiment here into Comfy is great. We're going to see some discarding going on. I think it was Ultra Ball that was played. I missed it because I looked away from the screen. But we are going to see Impersonation Mimikyu, the one that lets you play as an attack another supporter. So are we going to see, and this might be a super fun play here, are we going to see some sort of attach to, or like switch? I'm trying to think about how the best sequence is, because you can play Mewtwo, get it back on top of your deck. If you have Retreat Switch card, you could go into Comfy, and then you could get it back into hand. So there's Switch. So we're close to it, but we didn't see the Mewtwo get dropped. There's a third card in the Lost Zone, though. That makes me think that we're not going to see the double colors experiment this turn. We're going to see a retreat and back into Mr. Mime here. Now, one of the things you have to worry about as an Okie Dokie player here is there's Blah Shuppet sitting on the bench. So if you do find your special energy, Blah can just come up and discard it. So that's a really kind of interesting tech card. I mean, you play it in your deck already, but it's kind of a niche use that you don't see too often. Here's Mimikyu. I wonder if he was just one card short of being able to impersonate, because he would have needed the retreat tool plus the switch there. So if you're fighting, you would love special energy Machoke in. Iono doesn't do it because they're just going to draw Colorless off the top of their hand. And then, I think you would need an in specifically. And I don't think his list is playing in. In kind of falling out of favor a bit, people are definitely preferring Iono. So I see Iono here. I do not see an I think we just saw a pass there. That's rough. No game actions taken from Sore Thumb Collector. So, Energy Retreat. We got 5 cards in the Lost Zone. We're going to go up to 6 here. Drop in the Field Blower. Okay. Field Blower, again, if you know an open deck list, Focus Sash doesn't matter in this matchup, but I would think that you would care enough about Bravery Charm and Fighting Fury Belt. But obviously, if you're Psychic Lost Zone, you also have Lost Vacuum, so I guess it's expendable. So Marcus, we might have to refund you those points, because I don't know if I can mispronounce other people's cards. It feels too rude. I mean, I'll do it anyway. Alright, so 6 cards in the Lost Zone, Comfy in the active, U-turn board attach our Comfy in the active, Uturne? Yeah, Uturne Board is attached. This would be really cool. I think he's attached, retreated already with Mr. Mime. Am I wrong? Someone tell me I'm wrong. Oh, no, Escape Rope. Okay. Alright, Floatstone on the Machop, back into Okie Dokie. Float Stoan on Machop, and then Energy 2. Okie Dokie. There we go. Alright, those are all my things. Mirror Mime. Alright, cool. Alright, those are my 5. Alright, Arvin getting played. We're at 6 cards in the Lost Zone already. There's a Floatstone, which means that Lost Vacuum can get at least 1 more. There's a Floatstone. Floatstone, Comfy. Retreat into Impersonation. Mimic You can get it online this turn. If you're Stack Attack, I think he would have liked... Usually he runs Meloetta in his list. So I'm wondering if that's the case still. I didn't see it earlier. He used to run Meloetta to just spread some damage, but it looks like he's since dropped that in favor of just a more streamlined approach to getting cards into the Lost Zone. This is going to put him up to 7. Yeah, this is, the reason why when we look at fighting as a deck, and we see it performing very well on the day, it's just really hard to trust fighting in certain situations. Just exactly this reason. There's just no Pokemon you could get that would help you in the situation. Obviously, any deck can brick, but it just seems like fighting tends to do that more often than you'd like. We see the Mew falling. I think we're up to 7 cards in the Lost Zone, but I'm sure that he'll find it and fix it for us here in a second if I'm wrong. But Mew coming down, Mew can copy any basic attack, so it's hoping to copy that Sableye. Guzma was the play. Here's another Escape Rope. I don't think Escape Rope is going to quite do what they'd like to do. Psychic is bricky. What? Pecha, you're crazy, man. I can't agree with that. I found Psychic to be one of the most consistent builds. That's just in my personal opinion. Obviously, there are moments when it can break, but a lot of it revolves around Marshetta, right? Alright, Escape Rope coming here. And so here we have Stack Attack kind of in this. You can kind of tell where his brain is at, depending on what he's looking at. Has Sore Thumb been keeping the Escape Rope and a special energy just to KO something that's important to the game plan? And it looks like Escape Rope was the top deck and was just played to be a little bit disruptive. You definitely see that, not going up into Mew there was definitely in case the Okie Dokie attack was on. Because Mew has free retreat, or else you'd go up into that. Mr. Mime just kind of clogging the bench still. So this is interesting. I was about to say, if he plays Mewtwo here. Okay, plays Mewtwo. And Mewtwo's going to get back something. I didn't see what it was, but I have to imagine it was Colorless Experiment. It's just going to pass. Alright, that's a Brooklet Hill. It's a little bit of a glare, but I think I can tell that that's a Brooklet Hill. He's going to go searching. What basic do you get in this situation? I think you're almost assuredly getting Lost Mind next turn. What ended up happening, what was really curious to me, was we see Stack Attack play down the Mewtwo, and now his bench is clogged, and he's already played Scoop Up Net. So the game plan basically has to be get the Shuppet or Bust to free a space for the Sableye. Unless he has some other way to scoop Pokemon up for his bench, or he's to wait for your opponent to take a KO, right? Like this, maybe he has Guzma 2 in hand, but you can't Guzma and Colorless Experiment the same turn. I guess technically Stack Attack can because he has Impersonation Mimikyu over there. So I said that and immediately realized that he might be able to do that. All right, Hisswing Growlithe on the bench here. Putting another small basic down is tough, right? Because you're maybe potentially giving your opponent the opportunity at 2 KOs. I think in this case, it's fine. I think the Growlithe is 70, even though the Machop is 60. I think you're still denying the double KO, although you could potentially be setting them up for something better in the future. All right, Town Map being played here. We can see the pricing. Pricing, not bad for fighting, in all honesty. All right, there's VS Seeker. Is this another Guzma play? All right, yeah. We're seeing fighting doing everything they can to just stay in the game. And that's what you have to do sometimes in fighting. So putting this Mewtwo in the active, this is going to make it so much tougher. Obviously, Float Stone is still there, but now Stack Attack needs to not only remove something from his bench to find space for Sableye, but it now also needs to find a Float Stone to get this Mewtwo out of the active. So if you're fighting, you're feeling pretty reasonable about this. It doesn't make for super interesting gameplay, if I'm going to be honest for you, but you can see where both players' mindsets are at and why this is like a game of chess right now. It's just a game of chess where they don't have all the pieces. That might be a terrible analogy. All right, 9 cards. All right, there's the Banette. So that was one of the pieces that was needed. All right, so yeah, super, Sir Marcus bringing it up here. If you just get them a choke and a special energy, like you are looking golden. So like one draw supporter here, like a Cynthia or a Professor's Research. And if you can get into those 2 cards, this game might, even though it seems really out of Sword Thumb Collector's reach, might just claw him back into it. I think he needs it this turn. There's Riolu. Riolu with 70 HP. You're not playing the 60 HP, 20 damage Machop, but going into the 70 HP Riolu, again, not too much of a downside here because, again, you are denying Lost Mind 2 KOs by playing bigger basics. Just always the struggle and how you go about benching in these certain situations. How do you manage your benching when you know that your opponent is looking to take 2 KOs a turn off of you? All right, there's Peace. Oh, that's tough right there. Not the special energy you are looking for. So this is going to be strong energy, which is going to boost good punches attack by 20. So we're seeing 90 here, but I do believe there's resistance on that Mewtwo, if I'm not mistaken. We'll just double check here so I'm right, because I can't really see the number. Oh, no resistance. So yeah, just straight 90 damage. All right, this is probably getting close to game over time. That was Guzma into Comfy. He can pop the Banette to clear a bench space. He's even getting rid of the energy, so you feel like it's coming here. It's going to be pop Banette into bench Sableye, attack with Mew. And then if you leave the Growlithe in the active, yeah, so here's popping up to 12 cards in the Lost Zone. what two supporters are you getting back? Banette is put a supporter card from the discard pile into your hand. So just one. Esper is 2. This one is just 1. Might be Guzma. I just see kind of like being able to pick and choose what you put the active as being pretty important here. And has the spell tag. I mean, we've been going at it for turns, but that's the turn that might change the game. Again, if at any moment Sore Thumb was able to crack a Machoke into an Okie Dokie knockout, the game felt kind of swinging in the other direction, but man, seems good. Yeah, Hisuian Arcanine, also an interesting one, and here we see him taking care of Machop, which I think you have to do, and then putting some damage counters on Okie Dokie. There's our first prize of the game taken, and it goes to Stack Attack. Besides Guzma, we think we've seen Guzma played twice. Fighting has not played a supporter. We're seeing the downside here of what Fighting can be. I think we're going to see a failed Brooklet Hill here. I don't think there are any basics that you want to put down on your bench. If you're Stack Attack, you're feeling really good. If you're Sore Thumb, you're feeling bad. It's just how it goes. Yeah, Costella dodging Psychic has been really important. I don't know if he'll be able to dodge it in Top Cut. And this last round was his tie, right? I think he and Bolt decided to go ahead and tie, right? They probably didn't even play it out. Probably just a Top Cut tie. All right. Just a pass here. Well, I say a pass, but it looks like Psychic takes the KO. So yeah, all right. Fighting just not doing much. Fighting just not drawing the cards it needs. There's Great Tusk. Counter Energy is stuck in the prizes, so there's no way to really power it up. Here's Revive to bring Okie Dokie back, but no energies in play. Gotta feel for him. Gotta feel for the fighting. Yeah, Shermarcus, I have to agree with you there. Costella knows his bad matchups in and out. He plays Hitmonbros probably more than any other person I know. He also likes to play other decks, so I won't say that he's a one-trick pony. Man loves to play and loves to play his deck. He knows in and out. Good player. All right, we're seeing an energy attachment go to Mewtwo, of all places. I think this is Stack Attack realizing that maybe the only way he loses is like a stall bench tactic. Just go ahead and Lost Mine. Put it on Okie Dokie. Yeah. Yep. No KOs there in case a Raihan play was the gamble. You really notice how well Stack Attack plays in situations like this. Like, your opponent's out might be Raihan into a KO on something important. Well, don't KO anything. You have the luxury of waiting. You just see him with his patience there, setting up a board to just take multiple KOs. Fighting, playing some cards now. We see Buddy Poffin getting discarded to a Warrior Energy. But don't think there's much else going on. Damage counter is getting dispersed here from a Lost Mine. Yeah, here we go. Seeing the maturity of Stack Attack again. Just don't give your opponent any outs. Even got some leftover damage counters for Great Tusk. I don't think I would have minded so much Stack Attack going ahead and KOing the Okie Dokie here, just because, one special energy attachment to Okie Dokie could boost its HP in a way that where you might have to put counter somewhere else. He might also just be sitting on Hex Maniac, so that might have played into what he's doing. We see Professor's Letter here, but again, he put Roar Energy on Great Tusk. He's got no attackers. His swing Growlithe is stuck in the active with a 2 energy attachment retreat cost. And then everything is so close to being KO'd. Where do you put this energy? He's opted for Okie Dokie here, but I think we're just going to see 3 KOs this turn into a Great Tusk. Yep, so there's 3 prizes. And I think it's going to play it out. 1 prize left for Stack Tech. Drew the Machoke finally. Going to show it to the people. It was in the deck all along. He just could never find it. And there's a scoop. This matchup, as someone who's played fighting, is almost impossible unless you find that early Machoke into early pressure. And Sore Thumb Collector was so close to getting it all. Had the Machop on turn 1, had Okie Dokie, basic fighting energy attached, just couldn't pull it off, and just comprehensive on Stack Tech side. But yeah, so this is, we got 2 3-1s here, and this could be a deciding match on who is going to our top cut here. So let's reset prizes. It's either 5 or 6. So Water's got 5 prizes left. And it looks like Jeffrey only needs 2 more. So this might be a colorless dub. Might see Jeffrey make his way back into top 4. This Titan in the active definitely could be a problem. It's only Vigoroth that's powered up and attacking. Although you see in the background here, you do have Cyclozar that can hit for 100. Rough Seas, there's a Rough Seas and there's a Parallel in play. I wonder if they know that. Hey, no worries, Marcus. Hopefully I can stick around and cast. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm sure that one of them knows. Okay, so here we see Gym Leader Josh pointing to the Rough Seas. And the Wailmer is, the Wailmer is lost zoned. Love to see it. Alright, so there's Muscle Band on Cyclozar. So Cyclozar doing 120. I don't see Powerful. I see Jet, Gift, Draw on there. Porygon Z is active, so Recycle Energy is another energy that Jeffrey will just have in hand when he chooses to retreat. It's going to use the barrel first. Again, sequencing with Porygon Z Colorless is always kind of important, how you go about drawing up to cards. How can he deal with this Titan this turn? So Titan has 4 damage counters marked on it with 2 dice. So discarding Titan Lies to draw 2 with Cinccino. Thanks, Pokemaster Yans. I appreciate you. Alright, so yeah, discarding here, looking through his discard pile, might have gotten a VS Seeker here to see what they can do. Just, how do you get rid of this Titan? It's got Pot Helmet, you've got Rough Seas. You need to hit effectively 170, and Cyclozar is only hitting 120 at the moment. So it doesn't look like there's another attacker. Again, way ahead on prizes, though. We're talking about 2 to 4 on prizes, or 2 to 5 on prizes at least. The main issue for me is, I still don't know which stadium is technically in play. Gym Leader Josh pointed to Rough Seas, so it makes me think that that's the one that's in play over Parallel. Alright, here's Rescue Stretcher. Rescue Stretcher is a potential attacker. Alright, Slack Off. This is maybe Jeffrey looking to recur Slacking. If he goes Rare Candy Slacking, this might be just, alright, there's Parallel. Good gone. Alright, so there's So no rough seas in play, so that means that whatever damage Jeffrey does is not only getting reduced by 30, but it's a potential 60 because of rough seas. Alright, here's Kukui. So we're going to see 20 extra damage. So again, the Cyclozar, which is the only powered up attacker, has Muscle Band attached. Will be doing extra damage because of Kukui. Going to get reduced by the Pot Helmet and then healed by Rough Seas unless there's a Stadium bump in hand. Jeffrey's setting up Halo, hoping to take 2 prizes. And here we're going to see a retreat. You can recycle energy, going to come back to hand. We're going to go up into the Cyclozar. Does that recycle energy get attached anywhere? It's going to go straight to Slack Off. Tate and Liza was discarded to, I think, Cinchino to draw. Right, not quite enough. Again, he's doing effectively 110 here. 110 plus the damage that's already marked. It's going to put it up to 150. So we got Baxcalibur and Veluza in play, plus the fresh basic Sobble on the bench on Water's side. Let's see if I can make it a little bit better so we can see some prizes. There we go. There's some prizes for us. All right, straight into the Rough Seas there, which makes sense. Go ahead and get that damage off the board. There's Mao and Lana. I was going to say, I'd actually be pretty curious to see Mao and Lana just completely heal Titan here. It is going to have to switch. So switching and getting it back into the active, I'll be curious to see how Josh, because Josh does need to take a KO at some point to kind of keep him in the game. So there's the healed damage. You can go into Sobble, and it looks like he did have the energy that he put on Sobble and retreated. So he's just kind of shortcutting there. And he is going to take the KO with a freshly healed Titan. Yeah, doing his best to kind of claw his way back into this game. I think that's what these Wailord builds do the best, is they're just so good at, like, once they get set up, they're pretty unkillable. I'm asking about which Cyclozar. Jeffrey is pretty good. And Jeffrey has opted for the free retreat one. I think in Jeffrey's build, it's really good because he's running extra support mods, you know, powerful energy, Kukui. He's running Muscle Band, fighting Fury Belt. And so I think in that case, in his particular build, I would go with that, especially when you get the added luxuries of like Porygon Z's effects with, you know, jet energy and those sorts of things. I think it's good. I think in normal colorless builds, like the Turbo Lax build, I would definitely go with the 70 plus 70. I think that's the Driving Buddy build. I like that one a lot. All right. I kind of thought that this might be the case here. We're going to see Rare Candy into Slacking. Is there a follow-up? Is there some sort of gust on Baxcalibur, a gust on Sobble? You know, because at this point, I have to think that Jeffrey's planning on a Swellow 2-prize Crisis Punch play. Because it looks like he's quite a bit ahead, but I think he's actually quite a bit behind at this point in the game, although this slacking helps a ton. If he has any sort of switch out, he does get to take a KO here and then make things a little bit easier for him going forward. The fact that it can't KO the Titan is pretty rough. Again, he would need like powerful energy plus a field blower. There's Lugia. Really like the Lugia here. A different Lugia than we're used to seeing in builds. I think that's the 3 energy loop one. I'll have to remind myself of its attack. think it's 3 energy, 120, put something back in the hand. But let me double check before I tell you all 100% what it should be. I know a lot of cards, but I don't know them all. Yep, 120, put an energy back into your hand. Alright, there's an attack for 160. Recycle energy falls off, comes back to hand. Are we at, does water down to 3 energies here? Or 3 prizes? So clawing his way back here. This has been quite a match. Glad we tuned in when we did. Obviously, Stack Attack's match earlier against Sore Thumb Collector was a little bit of a one-sided affair. This one, much more back and forth. Just seen 2 straight prizes without response from our water player at the top here, Gym Leader Josh. Flashing Ultra Ball at us. Is Drizzile in the deck? Okay, here's Lucamine. I think you're maybe conceding timeout. What's up, Nevs? Alright, so Lucamine here, grabbing 2 things. I have to imagine one of them was Malinana, right? Splash energy onto Sobble. Alright, an extra attachment there. Oh, no abilities. Alright, being reminded here that Slacking is turning off Baxcalibur. Alright, down goes the big lazy sloth. Up comes Barrel with his float stone. We are tied at prizing 2-2. What a game. What a game. So Jeffrey currently without a response on board. There's Recycle to Kangaskhan, or at least the thought of Recycle. Here's VS Seeker. So Titan is currently at 100. Has effectively 110 left. So Kangaskhan does get the KO with the revenge attack. And then if you're Jeffrey, do you have the follow-up Crisis Punch Swellow? Or really just Crisis Punch anything? Put down Snorlax here instead of the Kangaskhan. And then he's going to Winona. Oh, okay. Special charge here. I think he maybe discarded Winona to draw 2. Well, it looks like he might run out of cards before he's able to win this game. Alright, there's 2 double colorless energies. So I do think the game plan here is he's going to shuffle up those 2 cards. He's going to draw 1 with the barrel, saving 1 last card. He's got Recycle, and he's got Twin Energy in hand, and then he's going to take the KO here, and he is going to take the Swellow. So Snorlax without Therapeutic is going to go to sleep here. This might be an early... Oh, Birdkeeper. Showing Birdkeeper in hand. Okay. So Jeffrey pulling out the dub. I think that was an early concession. I think it could have been interesting for the 2 players to play that one off and see what happens. Snorlax was still asleep, but, you know, Gym Leader Josh going to give it to Jeffrey here. That's probably good enough for Jeffrey's winning into the final cut. What a game. Love to see it.